just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. The trials are done and dusted. We've only got the one weekend with no footy, which is going to be painful after the footy being back. And then NRL round one is back. I mean, so exciting, so exciting. Now, before we get into it, because there was a huge results on the weekend, do not forget, we are doing a live country tour of the podcast. Myself, Guru, Timmy couldn't be here today. He's currently away with the misso. So, look, I personally think he's a coward. He doesn't want to come in here and, first of all, the Raiders. I mean, what happened there? What happened there, bro? Holy. And, you know, as we all know, the St. Helens beat Penrith. No, all jokes aside, he's away with the missus, but he will be back ready to go next week. And also, Matty will be on the tour. So, live podcast tour. We will be doing a tour of Armidale at the Grand Hotel, Friday, 3rd of March at 6 p.m. Then Friday, the 10th of March at 6 p.m. we'll be at the Riverina in Wagga. And then Friday, the 17th, we'll be at the Great Western Hotel, Rockhampton. Friday, 24th at 6 p.m. we'll be at Gilligans in Cairns. Last week, unfortunately, I was given the wrong information. And I'm pretty sure I said like Wagga was first and Armidale was second. That is incorrect, guys. Friday, 3rd of March is Armidale, the Grand Hotel. Friday, 10th of March is Riverina, Wagga. That is locked in. So they are the dates, guys. Friday, 3rd of March, Armidale. 10th of March, Wagga. This is all powered by Ringers Western as well. We are actually doing a collab merch drop with Ringers Western coming very soon. So stay tuned for that. Put aside the pennies because you're going to like this kit. It's absolutely fantastic and super stoked to be working with a company like Ringers Western, who's obviously loved in the country. They're powering the tour, huge part of it. So thank you to Ringers Western. Go give them a follow. Check out their stuff on their website, guys. But that is the live country podcast tour. Make sure to be there. Guru, how was your weekend, mate?
It was good, mate. Didn't get to put the feet up like Timmy. I think he's loading up some brownie points so he can go on the country tour just quietly.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, I probably should have played a bit of eyes up footy, done that myself. Matty, how's your weekend, mate?
Good. Love a weekend that's just full of rugby league and all the stars were back this week, so it was just like a normal round of footy. It was great.
4 games a Sunday. How good's that?
That's the best. Couldn't you tell the difference between the trials last week to this week? It was night and day.
It was literally night and day, especially for some clubs where you're going, okay. And I mean, we did call it in some cases, but yes, guys, potty, live tour, be there, 6 p.m. each. So it's basically the first month of rugby league, 6 p.m. each Friday. First week, Grand Hotel Armidale. Second week, Riverina, Wagga, Great Western Hotel, Rocky, and Gilligans in Cairns. Make sure to get down there, guys. Set aside the day because you're obviously coming out to the country. It takes a lot to get out there and go on a tour like this, and we probably won't be out in these places again for a while. So we want to see everyone that's part of the Bloke community, say hi, have a beer with you, all that great stuff. It'll be a live show where we talk all things footy, and then we'll come around and have a beer with you, which is the best stuff ever. Also, Stan original documentary series Dawn of the Dolphins is premiering March 6th, only on Stan. Just what goes into creating a new professional NRL club. This will be an unfiltered version of the creation of the Dolphins and a rare behind-the-scenes look at how Wayne Bennett operates. Be sure to watch it on Stan from March 6th. I am actually super excited about this documentary. We've talked about it ad nauseum, how much rugby league needs to step into this generation. We need to get some more documentaries made. How many other documentaries have we seen in other sports that have like literally created new fans? And this is what can happen, the Dawn of the Dolphins, March 6th. So it is March 6th. It will be released on Stan. So if you don't have a Stan account, sign up to be ready to watch Dawn of the Dolphins. What about you? You excited for Dawn of the Dolphins?
Can't wait, mate. And I really do wish it was something that we saw more of in rugby league. I think that every single club should just have cameras rolling all the time in case something happens.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope this becomes the norm. And shout out to Stan. I think this is a great idea.
Well, I agree in regards to the cameras rolling all the time. Now, I do think like you have to keep sight of you're a rugby league team, you're there to win games. But unfortunately now, it just comes with the territory, and you need to be releasing as much content as possible to keep the younger fan especially. Now, the older fan obviously does engage with content, but the younger fan especially, they need to be engaged. Otherwise, they're just going to go, they'll just get distracted by all the other stuff. So, yeah, I'm super excited. Dawn of the Dolphins, like to actually get to see the insights of the creation of an NRL club. Like, how lucky is that?
Oh, it's going to be unreal, and especially when you got a character like Wayne Bennett up there. Like he's obviously, he's seen everything in rugby league before. He started franchises before. Like, imagine if we had one of these for the Brisbane Broncos from '88 to
we
watch.
Go back and watch it.
Oh, mate, it'd be fucking unreal.
It'd be unreal, and like to see the how far they had come after they'd won their 4 or 5 premierships in that window. So that is March 6th, guys. Only on Stan, exclusive to Stan. So grab yourself an account. If you already got an account, set the alarm, set the calendar. March 6th, Dawn of the Dolphins will be available. I will absolutely be watching it. Matter of fact, I'll most likely even be doing a review of it, guys. So Dawn of the Dolphins on Stan only, premiering March 6th. Now, we're not going to go in order this week because something big happened over the weekend. We will, after this game, we'll go in order and we'll go through the biggest topics in rugby league. But I think the biggest topic over the weekend was St. Helens coming to Penrith and beating the Penny Panthers. Now, I think that there's this general consensus that whenever we go over there for the World Club Challenge, the boys are on tour. Who cares? Like, the boys are on tour. That's why they lost it. Because it's not like the first time we've been beat by a Super League side. I think what makes this so special is they were out here. They were going up against one of the most dominant sides we've had in a very long time, and they still got the job done. On top of all that, I think, look, I understand the gap between the top 4 Super League sides is between the top 4 and everyone else. It's quite substantial of what I'm told. Again, I don't have that much information on Super League because I don't watch it. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, guys. Like, I only got so much time in a day. But I always kind of felt that I never questioned whether the Super League best players were good enough in attack against us. Like Super League attacking footy is really entertaining, really good to watch, the things that I have seen. I was always of the mind that would the best teams in the Super League handle the defensive, gritty nature of NRL? And although it is only one game, guys, so I'm not sitting here saying they'd win a premiership next week. I will say, though, they probably, dare I say, bash the Panthers in defence.
I think they well and truly bashed the Panthers. I texted you on the weekend. I've never seen the Panthers have one marker on so many occasions. It was crazy. They were winning the middle and cut me a slice of humble pie. I underappreciated this side massively, St. Helens, to the point, Kempy, that after this game I thought, fuck, did I miss something last week in their game against the Dragons? Went back and watched part of it and thought, I'm not sure if I did last week. I can't believe the improvement in a week.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
And look how the Dragons played.
Mate, 100%. Mate, but I think you could see at the end of this game, and I saw a lot of people sort of saying, the way St. Helens celebrated, it's just a trial for Penrith. This is what this should be. This is the 2 best clubs in the world. I think I've always thought that this trophy should be probably worth more than what it is, and hopefully this can be a bit of a turning point.
It's like people say, they celebrated too much. That's easy for you to say. We're in the NRL. Like, we are the pinnacle of rugby league, and we sit on our high horse and go, they're celebrating too much. It's like, you do realise their salary cap is I think it's £2.9 million.
And take the classic example, I said on this podcast last week, I think Penrith will win by 40.
Yeah.
I didn't get a single message. No one pushed back on me.
Yeah.
No one pushed back on me at all during the week because we just assumed the Panthers would come out and absolutely roll this mob. So credit to them. And mate, it went to Golden Point. I didn't think the Panthers deserved to go to Golden Point.
That was an unlucky try. They got disallowed as well. I don't feel that was a forward pass, to be honest.
Man, 100%. St. Helens were the better footy side.
I will say I got tarred with the 40-plus fucking brush as well. I was trying to politely defend me mate Guru, but also be hang on a sec. Just because we're on the same show doesn't mean we said the same thing, bro.
I'll wear that one.
I said I felt they'd have a solid win, but I actually did say, and so was my tip wrong? 100%. Did I think that? Look, I personally thought, this is what I thought going into the game, and I said it as much anyway. I thought they would win 12-16, and it would be a controlled win where never really looked in doubt, controlled the game to a degree. So I know St. Helens are good. I even said they would probably be a top 8 side here if they were in the NRL. But I also did say, unless Penrith complete at about 60%, they're going to struggle. What was their completion rate in the first half? 60%, about 60%.
Yeah.
So I always thought St. Helens were a quality side, but I think they even They surpassed my expectations for sure. So much so that I can see if they had access to our resources, the same salary cap, all that kind of stuff, they were living in the NRL, I do think they could probably land around the top 6, top 8. Now, some people will think top 4, but I just think you need to see more than one game to make the call of like a top 4 side, because the difference between top 4 and top 8 is usually the ability to consistently put in 8 out of 10 performances or 9 out of 10 performances. But St. Helens were incredible. And anyone saying they were celebrating too hard, it's like, I don't think you're actually empathising with the position that they're in. They're the little brother, in air quotation marks. They're the guys that we, as a whole, I'm sure I've been guilty of it too. We dismiss as like, it's a Super League. It's good, but it's not, we would probably compare it to the New South Wales Cup standard. I think that's definitely not true. Like, it's not New South Wales Cup standard. So I think St. Helens deserve all the raps to do it in Penrith against a Penrith Panthers side that's been as dominant as they have. Yes, they were missing a few players. No, there's no denying that. But at the end of the day, they still had a bunch of absolute guns. So massive congratulations to St. Helens. Massive congratulations to St. Helens.
And I think that the big difference was that St. Helens played to the conditions. I thought they were tremendous in the wet. And, I saw people in comments and everything going, oh, that suits St. Helens because that's what it's like in England. Mate, it's not like the Panthers don't play in the fucking rain. It's not like the Panthers don't have the best kicking game in rugby league at 7. It's not like the Panthers don't have the premier forward pack in the comp. St. Helens outplayed them. It is what it is.
Yeah, and then also, like, Penrith Panthers literally build pressure and beat you that way. That, like, if you want to look at, say, a Rabbitohs or, a Storm to a degree now that are quite, like, can spread the ball, all that kind of stuff, then you might have an argument. But Penrith are quite structured. Their footy suits wet weather more usually than other teams in the NRL.
If anything, the 2 tries that Penrith scored, I'm not sure if they scored them in the dry.
It's a good point. So, absolutely incredible by St. Helens. Absolutely incredible. And, like, this is what we want. Do we want it just to become a nothing game? Like, do we want to sit here and just go, oh, yeah, who cares? Doesn't matter. It's not a big game. It's like, yeah, I understand that St. Helens are already into their season and, and the Penrith Panthers, it's a trial match, so they're not as keen or as up for it. I get all that. But at the end of the day, they played each other and St. Helens, they were the better side by, like, it says 1 point, but I felt St. Helens were quite dominant for most of the game. I think it was just Panthers' desperation on their goal line and in the middle there. It was just Panthers, like, the standards they've set now for so long, they just couldn't fall below that because they've set such high standards. Whereas a lot of other teams, I feel like St. Helens probably would have bloody, not put a score on them, but I think they probably would have won by, 12 to 16 points maybe.
And that's also the other side of this that, like, personally, I think that's the worst game the Panthers have played in 2 years when they've got their full squad. They lost by 1 point.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Panthers, we'll get in more into Panthers and I guess what the questions that will be asked. One question is, though, was St. Helens, like, even from the get-go, they were jamming up out of the line, hitting Leota. Like, Leota's the one that's doing the hitting. And don't get me wrong, Leota got his back and the guy dropped the ball and everything like that. But, like, St. Helens came with a specific game plan and they absolutely nailed it. They almost, if I'm being honest, and look, maybe this is hyperbolic or whatever, I felt like they looked more like the Panthers than the Panthers looked like the Panthers. Super aggressive line speed, arguably offside all the time, some of the time. You look back to that match against the Rabbitohs in the grand final. Panthers just said, oi, ref, if you're going to ping us, we'll just keep fucking doing it.
Yep.
And St. Helens, like, I'm not sitting here saying they won because of this, guys. I'm not saying, they were cheating. Not at all. What I'm saying is that a specific game plan of our line speed is going to be so razor thin on the edge of we leave just before the ball touches the foot or just when the ball touches the foot or whatever. And they nailed it. Yep. Absolutely nailed it.
And as you said, people might think it sounds like they're cheating. They're not. They're playing to the conditions. They're playing to the rules that are set out in front of them. And that's part of what rugby league is. Like, I've got my under-16s team. Like I always say to them, first set, give away a penalty. Find out how long we can hold down.
See what
Find
the ref
out
is
what
gonna
you
do.
can get away with and then play to that. And I think St. Helens did that incredibly well.
Like, for example, when Cleary got late shot head high and the play didn't get sent for 10, it's like, all right, that's a win for us. Like, we just got exactly what we wanted. We got to take out the best player. The ref didn't have, I guess, didn't. The ref was playing the vibe that he felt, and he was like, "No, it's not a 10 in the bin."
And similar to an Origin game, you probably wouldn't get sent from the field for that either.
Yeah, and then it's so funny how like a few games later, Jordan Rapana like. He gets sent for 10 for that.
Yeah.
No swinging arm, nothing. He was almost jumping for the ball. Anyway, so as I said, people are listening, don't take that as me saying it's a negative on St. Helens. That's the way you play rugby league. You try to see, what is this ref going to do? What is he going to take away from us? Is he going to be really harsh on the play the ball? Is he going to be really harsh on how far we get back? How long we hold down? And St. Helens played it perfectly, like the aggressive nature of the way they played. And they realised that the ref was going to let a few things go. And that goes for both sides. Penrith as well did the same thing. And so St. Helens deserve a massive rap. Game plan, the standard they played at, everything. I think, what a win.
Mate, I thought the difference was James Roby. He was tremendous around the ruck. He just picking them
20th
apart.
season. Mate, he's played 562 professional rugby league games.
And I'm not comparing the two and saying he's as good, but that's the closest to a Cam Smith performance we've seen from a hooker, I think. He just controlled the entire game through the ruck. He just picked which side they were going to go to. They played through a corridor so much in the early sets, but it was effective. It was so effective. I thought he was incredible, James Roby.
Yeah, and just what a 20th season.
Did you see that stat? I think it was the Panthers, the whole team combined. I think it was like 1,300 games. He's played 500.
It's wild.
It was off the charts.
It does seem like there's enough evidence. I was going to say it is quite ironic that the last person to really pick apart the Panthers was a Cam Smith in the ruck, controlling that middle area. Then a guy like Roby comes over and, again, controlling the ruck, the pace of the game, knowing when to just push the edge a little bit, bring it back. It is really interesting and ironic. And I don't know for sure that is their Achilles heel, but it's really the first time we've seen them dominated around the ruck.
And it is, if that is their Achilles heel, good luck. Because there's not many hookers around that have, you look at James Roby and Cameron Smith, you put them in a skill tester against the other hookers in the comp. It's between the ears and the experience that they have that always proves to be the difference. So, yeah, I thought he was so impressive, mate. He reminded me a lot of Cam Smith in this game, how he just controlled it from the play the ball. Yep,
absolutely. What did you think about the game, Matty?
Yeah, I have to eat some humble pie as well. I was all over Penrith before the game. I had him. I think the line was minus 18. I thought that was pretty good. Then at halftime, I actually doubled down, caught up. Penrith are paying $2, and I thought, they still won't lose. They're down by 10. So I lost 2 in a row. But by the time Golden Point came around, I got caught up in the moment, and I was going for St. Helens, just going for that underdog story. Yeah. I don't really understand why people said, fucking St. Helens celebrated too much. It's the ultimate underdog story. Those are the moments you remember for the rest of your life, whether you're part of it or watching on TV. I still think the greatest sporting story ever that I've seen is Leicester City, which is the greatest underdog story I think has ever happened. Everyone loves an underdog story. I just loved it. And to be honest, as a non-Penrith fan, it was good seeing them not win for once, to be honest. I can't tell a lie. I was going for them the whole game, but as soon as that Golden Point, I was like, all right, I'm here for the narrative now.
And so you had a punt half-time.
I had a punt just before half-time. They were paying $2 too. I'm like, there's no way Penrith. They're Penrith. They're not going to lose. Even though I just thought, okay, one really, really good half. I just think Penrith will turn it around. I was just waiting for them to turn it around. But St. Helens, it wasn't even that, Penrith weren't great, but we were just watching it going, St. Helens are just, they're brutal in defence. They're not letting Penrith through no matter what. And because I was going for Penrith, I was getting frustrated not being able to see them go through. But I was like, it's Penrith. Half-time, they'll turn it around. Yeah. And then
they nearly did. They nearly did. They completed 7 from 7 and the game changed.
And you're right. But they came out at half-time and they had a 5-minute period, 40th minute to 45th minute, where it was probably almost their worst of the game, I thought. They came out pretty bad. And I was like, okay, this could be happening here. St. Helens could get up. But then, I just loved the story. It was great seeing him win, and I just loved seeing them all win. The underdogs was great.
Yeah, how many multis would have been absolutely smashed to smithereens.
Yeah.
Because again, like, people, want to come out and be like, fuck, see, you said that Penrith would win by this or that. And the next thing it's like, you weren't that vocal before the game, but you're very chirpy after the game. It's like, it's easy to be the guy after the game that goes, right, fucking. So there would have been so many multis that got absolutely busted up. I mean, you got busted up.
I got busted up twice.
You doubled down.
Down.
I thought even at half time, I thought the Panthers would get into gear because that first half in the Panthers, their completion rate was literally it was terrible. Terrible. I just hadn't seen a Panthers like the Panthers' 3 front rowers. I think Leota made 2 errors, Fisher Harris made 1, and Spencer Lenu made 1. Like that is unheard of for the Penny Panthers. Where are the errors? Okay, so we've got Fisher Harris 1, Moses Leota 2, Cleary 3 errors. Like, wowee. That's unheard of. But let's focus on the Saints until we'll get to the Penny Panthers. Jack Wellesby, outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. I actually thought Mataute, I thought he was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, very, very, very good player, isn't he? He's obviously been around for quite some time. I'll tell you a story. One of my mates was playing under 20s with him at the Newcastle Knights. And the coach said to him at the start of the year that he's got high hopes for this team. And he said, and I genuinely think 1 or 2 of you can play first grade this year. Mataute played for the Kangaroos at the end of that season.
Wow.
That year he just came from nowhere. So they were expecting maybe 1 or 2 to play first grade for the Knights that year. He represented the Kangaroos by the end of the year.
That was
Unbelievable.
wild when he represented Australia.
Just on Jack Wellesby too, mate. I thought that try-saving tackle he made on Nathan Cleary.
Oh, massive.
Like, when you look back on moments in that game, I think if Penrith would have scored then, because they were starting to get a little bit of momentum, that turned this game on its head. And not only was a try-saver, he forced the knock-on out of it as well. And I reckon if you put Nathan in that situation 10 times, he'll score it 9 times.
Oh, 100%. I thought Alex Walmsley was massive. He's a big boy. Fuck, he's big. And I loved his tit-for-tat with Leota. Thought it was good. He just, as I said, Sirinen. What about Curtis Sirinen? Oh, fucking hell. He was outstanding.
To think that he essentially left Australia because no one would answer his calls is wild.
Honestly, you're right. It is absolutely, that's... And look, I understand people are like, well, he was injured quite a bit towards the rah-rah, but it's like, man, you're telling me there isn't a club out there that could use a Curtis Sirinen on the edge right now?
I know he was injured a lot, but that last full year he had at Manly, he was one of their best players. I was pretty shocked when he left, to be honest.
And they couldn't get him a contract. It was crazy. I thought the halfback was good, mate. Lewis Dodd. First time I've ever seen him play.
Yeah, so apparently he was injured, I think, last year.
Yep.
He's a young fella coming up, and they're tipping him maybe to be the next half for them, maybe at the next World Cup, I'm not sure. I thought Percival had some good moments. It was just and again, they did this without Tommy Mackinson. And for anyone that knows anything about Super League, he's in a normal winger. He's not just the winger went off. He is usually crucial to his sides go forward. The amount of times he breaks tackles, he's also an incredible goal kicker. So it wasn't without battles for the St. Helens side. It's not like everything was sweet, no injuries, whatever.
For reference, Tommy Mackinson won the Golden Boot a few years ago.
Yeah,
he's a gun. He's not just a standard winger that scores a couple of tries here and there.
Tell you what I love seeing again. I know he made a few errors, but fuck, he's entertaining. Conrad Harrell.
Oh, mate. Every time he got the ball.
So, and I thought it was a really good test for Isaac Tongo as well, going up against him.
I thought Tongo played outstanding.
He was very good, and I think I reckon that left edge spot, that back row spot, I reckon that door's opened up a little bit there. I sort of thought Hoskins was better than Garner in that game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was, if I'm being honest, I was a bit underwhelmed from both players. The games, that spot's on the line, and I just didn't see much from either player.
Garner in particular, he really disappointed me. I was surprised with that performance.
I was surprised because I just, it's not it was just the energy. I didn't see, and it's hard to say because maybe Garner had a role to play, and his role was to be on his edge, make his tackles, and wait for the ball to get to him. But I just was I wanted to see Garner doing, 15 hit-ups. Like, I wanted to see him getting busy. And as I said, it's very hard, and it may be super unfair because maybe he was doing exactly what the coach told him to do. But I just felt like if you're playing for an edge spot, and let's say in a world where he wasn't told to stay on his edge, he was given the freedom to be able to go and, look for work or whatever. I didn't see that energy from him. He didn't have a shocker by any means or anything like that. I was thinking that I thought we were going to see a new level kind of thing.
And I think in those conditions, you would expect your back rowers to come in and do a little bit more when we're not moving the ball as much. I thought that, and obviously we knew this was going to be the case, but
like, he had 3 runs compared to Hoskins' 15.
Yep.
And again, I just want to, as a player, I know sometimes you are literally told, "Oi, bro, this is your fucking job. Just you do your job." And sometimes players get selected, and you're like, "Why is that player getting selected when we've got this other guy that's a gun?" You know why? The reason usually is because the coach tells him to do a job and he does it perfectly.
Yeah.
So there's a huge chance that Garner was told to do a specific job, but if that isn't the case, and I'm being too nice to the player here, I was just surprised. Like, I just thought there'd be more,
Yeah, I think there was moments in that game where he sort of shifted out to centre as well, which would have made it hard for him. But when you could tell he was playing in the back row, I was expecting to get a lot more out of him. And, geez, what wasn't it evident with that Panthers side? And, like, obviously that they were going to miss kick out, but just not having that ability to just go 2 pass and just gain a heap of momentum.
What did I say ad nauseum? I'm sure people were sick of it over the last 2 years. I said every time the Penrith Panthers are in trouble, they just go boom, straight to kick out. It releases. It's like a pressure valve just going, just releasing. Because all of a sudden the whole set's changed. Now the whole game's changed. And we definitely saw that. Anyway, we'll stay on St. Helens before we, because I know St. Helens fans really do want us to talk about their players. And, like, there's a few people like, "Oh, you skipped over them last week." It's like, guys, like, we don't know. Like, you can't expect us to know every fucking player in the whole entire world. Anyone else that stood out for you? I just want to just circle back to Mataute. He was absolutely outstanding. And what I loved about his performance is not only did he run for 175 metres, which is fucking crazy, I loved how, like, it was almost he had a mission to be like, "I don't respect you." Or, no, I'm not scared of you because I've been in the NRL. So I don't need... It was almost like a chip on his shoulder to a degree. And just the way he's played, like, he was getting niggly. And sometimes when you play a team like the Penrith... Like, for example, how often have we seen over the years teams go and play Melbourne Storm and they're beaten before they go in the park because it's like Cam Smith, Billy Slater, Cooper Cronk, and they respect them too much. And why were Raiders always the Storm's bogey team? Because they were almost Ricky Stewart-like, disrespectful, fuck you, I don't care who you are, I don't care what your name is. But there's so many teams that go down to Melbourne and they go, "Oh, wow, like, I'm not going to niggle Cam Smith, I'm not going to niggle Cooper Cronk or Billy Slater, I'm not going to get aggressive on them." Whereas I felt like Mataute was like, "Nah, bruh, like, I am going to niggle, I'm going to get in their faces, be super aggressive."
Which it was interesting when you, once again, as you said, it was sort of like Cam Smith that ended Penrith's run a couple of years ago. When you go back to when Penrith stepped in front of the Melbourne Storm, it was that game where Nathan Cleary kicked to the sideline to find Stephen Crichton, and Tavita Pangai Jr. went and got Christian Welsh. He wasn't even involved in the fucking play and just shook him, you just sort of took him to another level. And I felt like that's what St. Helens did to this Penrith side. They went to him. They really took it to them, and they tried to enforce over the top of them at Penrith, which we've come to learn that that's impossible over the last few years. But they found a way.
They really did. It was surprising. It was really surprising. Outside of that, like, I mean, again, James Roby, 50 tackles, 37 years old, 20th season, and he's making 50 tackles in a World Club Challenge in like 73 minutes or whatever. Only 2 misses. I mean, it's just... Like, what an effort. People don't understand, like, 37.
Yeah.
Think of if you're 35 and over right now, think about how hard that would be. Your body doesn't recover anywhere near the same. On top of that, he's already been through 19 seasons. So it's like his body is so banged up by now.
On top of that, 151 touches of the football.
Yeah.
So at no point in attack did he take a spell or anything. No. He was directing them all around the park. I really wish that we would have seen him at some point come over here.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That would have been interesting. Now, I don't think, like, I would say, like, 400 games in NRL is much tougher task than, say, 400 games in the Super League. I'm not discrediting him at all. But it would have been interesting to see, like, would have he had the same longevity in NRL? And I'm not saying he wouldn't have, but I do think that we don't know that answer because the NRL is so brutal. Every team, even the wooden spoon team, can come out and belch you.
I think it's crazy that he debuted when Jack Wellesby was, I think, 2 or 3 years old, and now they've won, I think they've won 3 comps together, because I don't know if Wellesby was in the first one, but they've won at least 3 comps together.
He was a part of 2007 World Club Challenge against the Broncos.
Wow.
That's insane. Insane. So, yeah, I mean, St. Helens.
Did you play in that?
No, I didn't actually. I'm trying to think. No, I didn't. I think that's the year. Oh, no, that was the year before.
Because I had someone message me the other day saying that they were watching it and they saw you, and I thought...
No, it would have been Darius.
Yeah, right.
Would have been Darius. Yeah. But no, I didn't get taken over 2007. I did debut that year, though. Jack Wellesby, really interesting one. Because he's 21 now, isn't he?
21, yep.
So he's young as shit, and he's done quite a lot in the Super League. Does he come over to the NRL? Do you think he'll get... What would you offer him to come to the NRL?
Look, I've only seen very limited games of him, the World Cup and this essentially. I thought in the World Cup he opened up incredibly well. I thought against the top tier teams later into the competition he was a little bit underwhelming. But I thought in this game he was incredible. I wouldn't be spending an astronomical amount to give him a shot out there because of history of English fullbacks.
I'd be going about 400-500K.
Yeah, 500 was what I was going to say. I wouldn't go much more.
Wouldn't go much more than that. But if you speak to people that watch the Super League, they reckon he's fucking unbelievable, which is, and I'm not saying that's not true. It could be true. Matty, how much are you paying him to come over?
Yeah, I think I'm with you. It's just, I got to see a little bit more of him, but just everyone is just glowing of him. And yeah, he played well on the weekend. You're right, Guru. He played well in that World Cup game against Samoa, but he's won 3 comps. I'm pretty sure it's 3 comps at the age of 21. Wow. It's crazy. Incredible. And Challenge Cups as well, and now a World Cup Challenge. He's got a few trophies to his name. I think as well, he won the Super League Young Player of the Year last year, and he'd already won 2 premierships. It's just, it's insane. But yeah, I would. It's hard to like. There's a part of me that's like, oh, are we just ripping away like the Super League talent? But selfishly, I'd love to see him have a crack over here. And like, if he spends 2 years over here and it's not for him, he's 23 when he goes back, 24 when he goes back. So, yeah.
I mean, like you take Sam Tompkins, for example, who came to the New Zealand Warriors, really battled here, went back over there, has been very successful since. The other guy that came over, Zach Hardaker, he was the same.
It seems like the smaller, fast outside back kills it over there. Like you Jai Fields, Bevan Frenches. Who else went over there? That was just recently Matt Dufty.
Barber went over there and did very well.
And so I think that's because of the pace of the game.
Yeah,
and it's what I was discussing earlier of the defence in Super League across the whole. Now, when you get your top tier matches, clearly it's NRL standard, but usually across the whole defensively, it's just not the same as NRL. But yeah, what a win! It's a win for rugby league too because it gets more young English fellas and girls into rugby league. So a win all round, an incredible achievement by St. Helens. At the end of the day, like I said, Penrith would have a solid win. I got my tip wrong. I was incorrect. The Gurino had one of the great fucking...
You and me together, I guess.
No. I want to make that real fucking clear. Go back and watch the tape. I said, wow, 40's too much. Oh, man. When I was getting those messages, I was like, fuck, cunt.
Off the back of that, Tim messaged me on the weekend. He goes, geez, this Jermaine Hopgood's pretty good. He goes, that's a good call by Kempy. I just went up.
I saw that. So the positive thing is you've had your big win with the Hopgood, but then you just came crashing down the earth.
Came crashing down.
The St. Helens one. But anyway, guys, any reasonable person that isn't, fucking psycho, would you rather Guru just be like, see how we go? Yeah, Penrith by a little bit. That's the easy thing to say. Because then you can protect yourself going forward and just be like, oh, well, I never said that they were rah-rah. So, and we'll always put our hand up, guys. When we got it wrong, we will always put our hand up and say 100% got it wrong. So, but just like differentiate me and other people. Anyway, great stuff by St. Helens. What an incredible victory. And good on them, man. Like, that is truly an underdog story. They didn't just come over and beat any side. They came over and beat one of our most dominant sides ever. And yes, there will be some people, and you may be true. It may be true. Did Penrith play that well? No. But maybe it was St. Helens that made them play really poorly. Like, what do you want St. Helens to do? Like, play someone that's not there? They got the job done. It's that simple. That's all that matters. How Penrith played, that's their fault. It's not anyone else's fault.
I reckon it'd be great too, and I reckon there's a really good chance that these two teams play each other this time next year. That'd be great.
You reckon there's a good chance? Three-peat? You think of a three-peat?
So. Oh, well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's unlikely.
Yeah. I would have said there's a chance.
Good sure, chance. But like, I think it's fair to say Penrith have been your top 3 teams that could probably win the NRL competition this year. I would love to see these teams go head-to-head in this World Club Challenge again. I think that'd be sensational to have St. Helens. What would that be, Matty? They'd have to win their fifth in a row.
And then they go to Penrith. I tell you what, if that is the case, you're going to see a very different Penrith side.
Oh, 100%.
Because they'll be stinging.
Yeah.
They'll be stinging to get that back. Congratulations, St. Helens. Absolutely incredible. What a story. Now, on to the Penrith Panthers. Wow. I think that people know that we said the kick-out loss is going to be substantial. But they also know we said it's actually going to be the Coruscant loss that is super substantial. And I think around the ruck, how much they missed Coruscant was almost honestly like glaring. Every set they just had, and this is no knock on the players that are getting put in there because Mitch Kenny's a battler. He gets through a bunch of work. Like that's his job. Like, so it's not to say just he's supposed to magically appear this great attacking 9 skills when he wasn't even a 9 before a couple of years ago. But just around the ruck, they just didn't have very much creativity. The crispness around the ruck just wasn't there. When they needed something like someone to turn up the heat around the ruck, it wasn't there. I think, look, I'm not sitting here saying the Penrith Panthers aren't premiership threats this year. They are absolutely still premiership threats. But I do think it might take a while for them to adjust to life without Api Coruscant and Viliami Kikau. And I think that I thought they would suffer without them, but I didn't think they would suffer this much because if you go back and look, you go, Api Coruscant didn't start the grand final, and for 20 minutes, Mitch Kenny was there and they were fine. They got through all the final series with Mitch Kenny starting. But I really think that it's a bigger hole than a lot of people give it credit for. It's going to be, I would love to know the backstory of did Penrith think that they were dispendable in the sense of, I'm sure they offered them contracts, but did they fight hard enough to keep them, or did Penrith feel they had enough replacements to sort those positions out? So I will say a little bit concerned about Penrith after seeing that. Again, it's one trial match. Everything can change in a week. It was their when they started to complete sets, they did begin to dominate the game. But I do think that they definitely performed worse than I thought they would without a guy like Kikau and without a guy like Api Coruscant.
Yeah, without echoing what you said, obviously it is their first trial, but you just got to read into what we have so far. I also think that I've been told that if it was round 1, Sonny Luke would have played.
Okay.
I think it was a minor hamstring thing. I've also been told if it was round 1, Dylan Edwards would have played.
Okay.
So I don't think it's concerning, but I think that Sonny Luke is going to play a very, very important role in this side moving forward. I think what we got from Mitch Kenny on the weekend, I don't know why that surprised people. They were clunky in the first 20 minutes in attack of games last season as well, but they didn't turn the ball over constantly in those games, and I thought that was the difference the other night. I think Mitch Kenny, he's a great bloke to have in your team because whenever teams are playing the Penrith Panthers, the first 20 minutes is very, very important, and defensively he's fantastic.
Oh, he's absolutely fantastic.
And he plays a role there perfectly. But when your front rowers and your middles are going to turn the ball over every second set, that becomes very difficult all of a sudden. So I think that sort of brought Mitch Kenny down a little bit, and I think that Sonny Luke, I sort of thought he might play 40 to 50 minutes a game. I think he'll play 60-odd minutes now. I think he's going to be very, very important to this side. And I know he's no Appy Coruscant, but he's a lot closer to Appy than what Liam Martin is. So Mitch Kenny, sorry, yes. So I don't... There's concerning things there, mate, but I think that we haven't really seen the real Penrith Panthers side yet, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's so tough. It's one game, so you can't read too much into it. You exactly. Really can't. But what I saw was just, I don't know, I just felt like their forwards didn't have the same oomph they usually do. And look, it's the first game, so, I mean, well, some of them was their second game. So it is understandable if they were rusty, but like, I'd understand if one of the forwards was rusty, but I kind of felt like pretty much their whole forward pack. Like, even it took a while for Isaiah Yeo to get into things. Yeah. Fisher Harris having an error, Leota having 2 errors, Spencer Linu coming on and having an error. It's hard to gauge, like, is that evidence of a fatigued team? And, like, if there is any club that has the right to be fatigued, it's the Penny Panthers. Or is it just evidence it's essentially their first trial, wet weather, this happens in trials all the time, and because it's a preseason challenge, because it's on, we're watching it in almost like an environment like it's a normal game, we're expecting too much of these players. We're expecting them to just go, boom, NRL standard, off the bat. And so I'm really torn. It's hard to say whether it's... I'll be honest. And I'm happy to say when they come out round 1, if they belt someone, I hope to say, you know what, it's all good. But from what I saw, I am a tad concerned. They've gone from, put it this way, before that game, and I know it's a trial, but before that game, I would have had them probably favourites to win the comp. I probably wouldn't have them favourites at the moment because I just think that the Kikau, Appy Coruscant situation may be something that takes longer. So right now, would I say they're favourites? I'd probably have them as second or third favourite to win the comp. So, I mean, look, it's still incredible. Still, like, we're talking about a third season of dominance. So that's just being honest, guys. Like, I could sit here on the fence, guys, and be like, nah, nothing to worry about. It's a trial, who gives a shit? But from what I saw, there were a little few things that I was like, I don't know. Again, when in 2 weeks' time, if they come out and belt someone and they're the Penrith that we love and we know, then I go, yep, all good, nothing to worry about. But right now, it's like, let's see how this plays out a little bit.
Do you remember who someone is in round 1?
It is the Broncos?
Yep.
So they're going to lose by 40.
They're done. I think that we could...
Think it might take time?
I think it'll take time, but I also think, like, as we keep saying, it's one trial. You can overread it, you can underread it. And I think both those narratives could be spot on by the time we get to week 4 of the NRL season.
Yeah.
Realistically. I still believe in Sonny Luke, and I think he can make a huge difference.
Do you think defensively that may become a concern because he's quite little? He's a little fella. Attack-wise, I think agree with you. He's gun attack. Do you think if he plays longer minutes, people might target him throughout the middle?
I have no doubt whatsoever they'll target him, for sure. But I think if you're not going to be paying a heap of money for a hooker like Appy, you have got to give somewhere. And I mean, mate, like, as you said, the entire pack was a little bit off the other night. First time that it's happened in years, realistically. Yeah. So I still think Penrith will be okay. I still kind of do have them as my favourites.
So you got them at number 1 still?
I still do. I just think that they've proven over the last few years that when the bright lights are on them and they're on the big stages, they know how to win. And for me, that matters a lot in this competition.
Yeah. And look, to be fair on Sonny Luke, like, I'm not saying he can't defend. I just have watched some of his New South Wales Cup stuff.
It's a fair take, 100%.
And I have watched the World Cup, and there were times where I was like, like, he's a smaller body. But again, to be fair to him, these are the things that every player coming into first grade has certain things they need to work on. There's a world where in 12 months' time, he's fine defensively. He's totally sweet. So, like, I'm respecting his ability to grow as a player. He has barely played NRL. Has he even played NRL yet?
He's played, I think, 2 games.
2 games. So, like, of course, like, every player has deficiencies. Like, you could look at, Nathan Cleary had deficiencies. Not defensively, he was always good defensively, but he had massive deficiencies at the start of his career. I mean, so I'm not singling out Sonny and being like, he's the only guy that, like, I'm just saying that is one part of his game that they're going to have to strike a balance between, they know Mitch Kenny can defend, they know Sonny Luke can attack, how do they bring that together, you know?
Yeah, and the reality is this Penrith side is so good that you will find whoever you think you can target and you will go at them relentlessly. So it is 100% going to be a factor. On Nathan Cleary, I was told by 3 different people that apparently this game was on Saturday night, Sunday morning, he was already back at the fields at Penrith.
Oh, really?
On his own.
You could tell he was stinging after the game.
He was furious after the game.
And he was furious at himself. But yeah, with Sonny Luke, you know what? I would love, we would go to the end of the year, look at his tackle efficiency, his tackle percentage, and we go, nothing to worry about here. Because I tell you what, if his defence is good, I would argue his attack, maybe not at Appy's level yet, but I do think he has the potential to get to Appy's level attacking wise. He has the potential to in 5 or 6 years of NRL. Because Appy didn't start fucking this master. Took him quite a while to get there.
Yeah, and I think if you go and have a look at where, as you said, where Appy Caruso was after 2 games of first grade, where Sonny Luke is now. I think the other thing with Sonny Luke that people need to remember, and I made this mistake myself, I think people assume he's 19, 20. He's 26 years old. He is a bit of an older head, so it's not like you're bringing in a guy that, and to be fair, New South Wales Cup last year, tackle efficiency, 93%. So in the games that we've watched recently of him, he has been targeted though, for sure. So it is something to watch. But I just think he's a bit more of a mature head coming into this side, which makes me a lot more confident on him. And I think that I just don't think Penrith would have let Appy walk out the door if they didn't have a proper plan.
I mean, they did win the New South Wales Cup.
Yeah.
They did win the whole thing in the New South Wales Cup versus Q Cup. And he's the guy that touches the ball the most, you know. So I would love a world where we see him playing 60, 70 minutes by the end of the year. I think they'll probably ease him into it, though. I think that they'll probably continue to start with Mitch Kenny for 20 minutes. Then they might put him on for about 40, and they go Mitch Kenny the 20 at the end, maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they use him. I'm excited for him, to be honest. I'm excited for Sonny to see how he goes.
Oh, mate, I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I think he'll be very, very good.
What an opportunity for him too.
Oh, mate, what a spot to step into.
Yeah, because it's one thing. Let's say they came out and they belted St. Helens. As Sonny, you'd be sitting there going, "Oh, okay, do they really need my services?" But now, if you watch that as Sonny, obviously he'd be devastated. They're his teammates. He loves them. But he also can be like, I've got something big to offer this team. Yep. Massive. Because he's really the only guy in their squad right now that can soften the blow of losing Appy. And
just to show you, like in his last few games of New South Wales Cup last year, he played 80 minutes in all of them. His run meters in his last 5 games, 100, 116, 87, 85, 113.
It's a crazy attack.
For a hooker, that's unreal.
That's unreal,
That's sensational.
That's Harry Grant levels.
There's also the other side of it. Across those 5 games, he averaged 2 missed tackles per game.
That's okay.
But he made 42, 39, 33, 40.
So, solid.
Yeah, I think that he's going to make a huge difference. You even have a look at his offloads. 2, 2, 1, 4, 1. Like, he's got a lot of upside to him. Tackle breaks, 2, 4, 3, 5. He's got a lot of upside to him, this guy, and he's not a 20-year-old that's coming in still trying to find himself. I think he will make a very big difference to this footy side.
Yeah, that's good to hear. So, obviously, New South Wales Cup is a little bit, not as hard as NRL, but it's, that's exciting.
And obviously, those games that I read out, that's finals of New South Wales Cup.
Yeah.
So that's, going up against the best Cup teams.
Yeah, which have NRL players in it.
Yeah.
Now, on to the edges, Garner and Hosking. Look, I did think Hosking's probably played a bit better. Got through quite a bit of work. In saying that, defensively, he missed 4 tackles on the edge there. Garner only missed 2, but he had 4 ineffective tackles. They desperately need Liam Martin back. Holy shit, they missed him on the weekend. And when they needed some punch on the edge to really get them going, it just didn't. I don't know. I thought at least one of them, Garner or Hoskins, was going to really just almost explode in regards to okay, they're all good. But yeah, I was a little bit not deflated, but a bit like, I wish I had seen a bit more from them.
Yeah, and I think as well, in the conditions these games were played in, perfect for Dylan Edwards and perfect for Liam Martin. That would have been Liam Martin's Super Bowl being out there the other night. Just wet footy, it's in tight, and they were getting bashed. He would have loved that challenge to stand up against that side. So I think it will be interesting. I hope that he is there round 1. If not, you would assume they go Garner on one side, Hoskins on the other. But If Liam Martin is available, I
reckon Hoskins got the jump.
I think he does too. And I would have said last week, I don't think he's a hope in hell to get it. But based off that performance, I think I would have Hoskins there.
Well, just the work that he got through. I mean, he had 15 runs. He ran for over 100 metres. You know, and as I said, like, unfortunately with Garner, like, you know, and as I said, if you had a game plan, I apologise, but he had 3 runs. Like, when you're fighting for a spot, and I do think that, like, sometimes players can be too nice and too, like, they're too much about the team.
Yep.
And that's how sometimes you can end up with stats like that, because you're going, the coach has told me to stay out here, my 6 keeps yelling at me to stay out here, I'm just going to do exactly what they say. And sometimes you've just got to go, push blokes out of the way and go, no, mate, I've had no runs. Like, I need to get a carry. I don't think it's a situation where it's like, oh, they're not going to be good or anything. It was just a bit of a quiet night.
And mate, I reckon there's a really good chance that what you just said is spot on. You got Luke Garner coming from the West Tigers, arriving at the 2-time premiership winning side.
Yeah.
Just trying to get comfortable and find his way into this team.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, the other thing with Luke Garner is that he's like, he hasn't played consistent first grade over the last few years too. So, like, I think it's fair to say that's by far and away the biggest game he's ever played in.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of layers to it that, as we keep saying, it's very hard to overread or underread based on one game.
But at the end of the day, quiet game. Like,
Yep.
No matter how you slice it, it was a very quiet game. Hopefully he bounced back, because I definitely think he's got a lot of potential. Let's talk about the Stephen Crichton situation. I will say, obviously didn't play great. Got through a lot of work, handled the physicality of it, had quite a few tackle breaks, all that good stuff. But I do think that it was almost like the opposite of what Crichton usually offers. Usually in the big moments, he's the one that's delivering, not making the errors. So, yeah, didn't play well, crucial errors at crucial times. But I do also think this I saw a lot of comments of like, oh, he's not a fullback, fucking Bulldogs have killed themselves, rah. It's like, guys, it's one game. Like, it's one bad game. Let's just chill on that chat. He's played fullback for the Panthers before and no one's had an issue with it. So although he didn't have the best game, I think you need to chill on the whole he's not a fullback thing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the great overreactions. As you know, I've seen a lot of reactions to this Panthers team off this game that I think are huge overreactions. And Stephen Crichton, I've seen him play an extended period. I know it's New South Wales Cup, but I've seen him play an extended period at fullback. He can do it, and he will be able to do it.
Well, he ran over 200 metres and he had 6 tackle breaks. Like, so 214 metres, 6 tackle breaks.
And I agree with you. I think he had a poor game. But, I mean, the evidence is there in the worst possible conditions he could play in as a fullback to fit his sort of skill set. If it was Dylan Edwards, that's perfect for him. He loves that sort of stuff. Critter isn't that sort of footballer. I don't understand why we're judging him so heavily off one game, a preseason game like that. I think it's crazy.
Yeah. And I know what people are going to say, oh, he ran for 200 metres, but like he wasn't as good out the back and he wasn't as silky and this, that, and the next thing. For sure. Like, that may be true, but there's not enough evidence to say he's not, because we have barely seen him. How can we say that? So just give him some time. Like, let's give some credit time. On top of all that, he wouldn't have trained at fullback the whole preseason. He would have been training at centre. So yeah, didn't play the best. You know, the errors, were pretty bad. Like, pretty bad in crucial times. Again, it was almost like the opposite of what we see from Critter. I mean, he did put up the bomb, I think, that got them back in the game.
Yep.
But then was he the one that dropped the ball that gave him the field position to kick the field goal?
Yep.
So you win some, you lose some, I guess.
Oh, for sure. And Critter's going to win a lot more than he loses in the future.
Well, he already has.
He's already won a stack. He's already he's won more than what some of the greats of the game have won.
Literally.
It's crazy. So,
like, had the big play in the big moment.
Enjoy kicking him when he's down, because he'll prove you wrong eventually, I believe.
Oh, I agree too. But, we're not going to sit here and say he played well. It was unfortunate. It wasn't the best game.
But I think that's what also makes this Penrith side scary for round one for you guys.
Oh, yeah. They're going to be angry.
They're going to be pissed off.
They're going to be pissed off because the thing about the Penrith Panthers is, like, so, like, the Melbourne Storm, they're hated because they're good. Like, people try to look at, like, oh, the wrestle, this, and anything. It's like, no. It's because they're good. Like, Everyone tries to bend the rules. It's like the Roosters. People don't like the Roosters. It's because like they'll look for reasons. Oh, it's because of salary cap and sombrero, rah. Anytime a team becomes good, they look for reasons. The thing with the Panthers, though, is like they are cocky. They are confident. They are in your face. So there is a lot of people just waiting for them to struggle so that they can say, what they want to say. And to be honest, to be fair, that's fair. Because if you want to take the mantle of the cocky, in your face, we're the best, if you don't like it, change it, then you have to cop the thing that comes back if you don't win of, well, you're not the best and rah, and all this kind of stuff. So, and look, I think the Penrith boys know this. So there are a lot of people that are waiting for this moment.
And I also think that's the beauty of Penrith too, that they'd be sitting there going, okay, fuck you guys. We'll see you round one.
Yeah.
But I do, from what I've gathered, I think Dylan Edwards and Sonny Luke weren't far off playing. So maybe there is an argument there.
Isaac Tungo, I thought he was outstanding.
Yeah.
I really thought, like, when he had two people jam up on him, he bumped them both and, like, knocked out Mackinson. Like, the strength of his... Like, people don't understand. Mackinson's strong as shit. Like, his core strength must be crazy strong, Isaac.
It'll sound underrated, but this kid is... Like, it'll sound crazy, but this kid is still underrated. I think he's got so much more to offer. And, I was obviously very high on him going into last preseason, so I got on him for anytime try scorer all last season. Mate, he got about 9 or 10 tries taken off him last year, and he still scored 15 odd. So I reckon this year, and you got to remember as well when you look at his what he did last year, how impressive he was. He became the best decoy in rugby league last year. He was like he was not utilised anywhere near as much as he should have been. I think this year you'll see either Garner or Hoskins. I think they'll run that heavy overs line. I think Isaac Tungo's in for a huge season here.
Damn, he looked good. I thought he looked really good. Taruva, I thought he was solid for a rookie. What's crazy is like, it's almost like you forget that Taruva's a rookie. But yeah, Jerome is a bit quiet, I thought. Cleary, I thought he had moments, obviously. It was a mixed bag for Cleary, like a genuine mixed bag. Not the mixed bag of like, he played poorly, but we don't want to say it. I genuinely thought it was a mixed bag for Cleary. Outside of that, yeah. The good thing for the Penrith Panthers is they played pretty poorly. So the only way's up. Well, you hope, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to see how they bounce back from this, for sure.
Now, before we get to the next segment, it's the last 2 days of Liquor Legends promo in Queensland, where if you spend $30, you can get a 6-pack of Bloke Midi for $10. That's right, only 2 more days. So if you want a Bloke Midi 6-pack, get into your local Liquor Legends. You spend $30, you get a 6-pack for $10. It's gone. 2 days, that promotion is gone. So go to your local, go to liquorlegends.com.au, see where your local Liquor Legends is or your Liquor Legends stockist. Go in, you spend $30, buy the missus something nice, get a 6-pack of Bloke Midi for $10. Also, in Queensland, shout out, we're just going to shout out a few stores here. Here we go. Fleet Street, Camp Hill, they have a party shirt promotion. What does that mean? If you buy a case of Bloke or a 6-pack, you have a chance to win a Bloke party shirt. Shout out to Louis' Liquor Barn in Cairns, they stock Bloke. Liquor Legends in Warwick, stock Bloke. Legends Drive and Barn in Logan Village, stock Bloke. And Star Liquor Westbrook Tavern in Toowoomba, stock Bloke beer. So Queenslanders that are listening, head into Fleet Street, Camp Hill, head into Louis' Liquor Barn in Cairns, Liquor Legends in Warwick, Legends Drive and Barn in Logan Village, or Star Liquor Westbrook Tavern in Toowoomba. Grab a case of Bloke beer. Look, everyone knows it's the beer of footy, and guess what is back? Footy is back. Now let's get into the biggest news of the week. Nanai extends until 2027. Great get for the Cowboys, but I would love to know the figure, because the figure that's been floated around is 900K. I don't believe it.
I cannot see a world where he is on 900K.
Like how does that help your cap at all?
No.
Having a wide running forward on nearly $1 million over fucking 7 years.
Who, as much as he had a tremendous season last year, there was still a lot of question marks on him throughout the year. It was round 8. We were sitting here going, missed 10 tackles on the weekend. He went to another level towards the back end, but if you told me the Cowboys 3 years ago signed him on 900K, I could maybe understand it. But with the system they've got up there at the moment, I'm not buying that number for a second.
No, I'm not for a second. I actually think that he's probably on unders right now. And the reason he signed a long-term deal was because of the so he's like, all right, I'll take a little bit less, but I'll get the security of if you're the Cowboys, why the hell would you offer a guy nearly $1 million till what? So that's a 6-year deal or a 6-year deal? Let's say 5-year deal.
5-year deal, yeah.
In the position they're in, why would you offer a 5-year deal of $900K a year? And if it's $900K, then it's going to go up to $1 million because it'll be connected to the cap or whatever, most likely. It makes no sense. Yeah. Like, you're not desperate for wide-running forwards, even though Nanai's unbelievable. Like, he offers something so unique and different to any other back rower in the comp. So, yeah, I don't believe the $900K. Look, if they got him for $600-700K over that period, I think it's a great deal for both parties.
Over that period, yeah. Because, I mean, like, I'm a huge fan of him. He did fantastically well last season, but I mean, it is a small sample size that we have seen. He has done it at the top levels, which is what makes the difference, but we have seen young guys come through our game before and explode and do. Granted, nothing like what he's done before, but he's a guy that I'm very, very keen to watch this year, and that trial on the weekend indicated to me that he's going to be just as good.
Yeah, it's going to be fine. Because like the risk is with young fellas like him, gets the big deal, first 3 years of the deal, plays 2 good games, 3 bad games, 2 good games, 3 bad games. Then the contract year comes around, boom, comes out and has another absolutely massive deal. That's the worry with these long-term deals with young superstars. Now, I would say Taumalolo has proven that he will. There are young players that can be consistent over a long period of time. Taumalolo, what has he probably had 1 quiet year maybe?
And maybe anything outside of that was because of injury,
Yeah, really. Like outside of that, he has been outstanding. So it absolutely can be done. So yeah, look, if they got him for the right price, I think it's a great deal. If they paid like what the reports are, I think that's crazy in your cap to have a wide running forward on that much cash when you're already you're third best in the comp. You know, it's just. I wouldn't, honestly, there's not a single wide running forward in the comp right now that I'd pay $900K for.
No way. Wouldn't even consider it.
And it's not because they're not gun. It's a wide running forward. Like, you can't mix your cap will get completely smashed to smithereens.
Especially when you look at their side and look at how many other good back rowers they've got that can't make the team.
Yeah. Like Helam Lukey's got to come back.
Yeah.
They've got Luai, Leilua, sorry. You know, is he good to play?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard an update on that.
Not sure. Okay. Then they've got Griffith Neem. He's more in the middle, but he can move to the edge. Who have they got? So they've got Helam Lukey. They've got
Jack Gajewski.
Jack Gajewski.
Yep.
They've got Nanai.
Yeah, and there's someone else in that.
I can't believe there's one we're forgetting that's like a gun.
There's Mitch Dunn as well. He can play out there. He's very handy. But you also look at like they had Tom Gilbert, who they let go. They had Lumelu, who's got a good try for the Dolphins last night too. Right, so they had all this depth in the back row. I'm not buying at all that they've paid him that much money.
So they've moved Cohen Hess to the edge as well. And they got Riley Price. He's a
middle.
He's a middle. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, so
but even once you throw in Cohen Hess, who can cover it, it's 5 or 6 names.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like Hylam, we were sitting here at the start of the year going, which of these back rowers are going to be? It wouldn't have, Hylam Lukey's still got the ability to have a huge breakout season.
He's got the ability to be in the Queensland side by the
100% he does.
By the mid-year, sorry. So, yeah, I think that, look, the Cowboys, their whole culture, everything has changed. Like, they wouldn't do a deal stupid. I think it's a good deal for both parties. I really do.
The other one they've got there too is that Sadrugu that we spoke about last week that played in the front row, can play on the edge, played for Fiji. So he's another. So there's so much talent there.
Was he injured on the weekend or?
No, he just wasn't picked. It was interesting. They didn't pick him. They didn't pick Tom Chester. It was an interesting side the Cowboys picked. I thought that a few of those guys would have been there.
It is interesting. Okay. So yeah, Nanai extends. Great news for Cowboys fans because if he plays the way we know he can play and that he has been playing, his highlight reel will be one of the great highlight reels for a back rower.
100%.
Seriously.
It'll be right up there with your Beaver Menzies, your Sonny Bill Williams, these sort of guys.
Highlight reel of these crazy feats. People forget his game 3 for Queensland was outstanding, Nanai's was.
And I think you can see, like on the weekend, I think you could see like the Cowboys are building things around him. Such a weapon to have a guy with, a winger's jump and a winger's catch smack in the middle of the field, jumping over halfbacks and second rowers. And I think you'll see a lot of it this year. And they did it a heap last year, but I think they'll be aiming it directly at him. If you get a line dropout off the Cowboys, you better be prepared to go to war to get that ball back. Because Drinky's just going to drop it on that first man's head. And this guy's going to be there every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Congratulations, Cowboys fans. Very exciting. I think that you're going to have an excitement machine on that edge there. And he's only going to get better. He's so young. He's like 20, I think. Unbelievable. Incredible talent. Fitzgibbon extends until 2027. I mean, of course he did. And the Sharkies look fantastic. Oh, man, what he's done there is amazing. Yeah,
it's incredible. And I think that we forget the situation the Sharkies found themselves in a couple of years ago. Every year there's half the coaches in the NRL that miss out on playing finals footy. Johnny Morris made it 2 years in a row. The Sharks made the bold decision to let him go. And I sort of thought, geez, that's a bit tough considering he's made finals the last 2 years. And I said at the time, I don't think it's the wrong decision to bring Craig Fitzgibbon in, but to sack a coach that's getting you to finals.
The way they did it wasn't great.
But fuck, hasn't it turned out well?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Even when it happened, I'm not sure about yourself, but I said it's probably the right decision because Fitzgibbon is so highly touted and, I felt he was going to be good. It was just the way they went about it that I did.
Terribly.
I didn't think it was he's been at the club for a while. To force him out so quickly because he may make finals, I think that they should have had confidence in their decision that, okay, if he made he made final, good on him, but we are still backing Craig Fitzgibbon because the thing is that let's say they had done that, they still would have been justified. Let's say Morris had taken him to the 8, they get to the second week of the finals, then Craig Fitzgibbon comes in, takes them to second place on the ladder, they would have been seen as even better operators because they would have said, hey guys, we could have sacked him mid-year to save the appearance of the whole situation. Instead, we treated him with respect, we allowed him to go out in his own terms, and then we brought Fitzgibbon in. But that's by the by. The club the Sharks is in, the position the Sharks are in is absolutely, it's honestly shocking how good of a position this club is in. They have the Dally M Player of the Year, in 7, not like a edge, like a fullback, in their 7 role. From all reports, financially they're doing really well. They've got a bunch of real estate around the area. Again, I could be wrong with that, but that's my understanding. They're a club on the up massively.
I remember I had Craig Fitzgibbon on the podcast 3 or 4 years ago, and this is when there was all the talk about where would he end up. The Warriors job was thrown up, Tigers job was thrown up, and I remember I said to him, a lot of talk about this Warriors job, and I remember he said, I'll keep saying no. No is the best thing I can say until the exact right opportunity presents itself. And hasn't the exact right opportunity presented itself, and hasn't he taken advantage of it?
Well, what's crazy and impressive on Fitzgibbon's behalf is, would have you said the Sharks were the right opportunity at the time? I probably would have said no at the time.
Yeah, I think I would have said no as well. But obviously, we're looking from the outside looking in. But I would have imagined it would have been harder for him to convince all these guys to come there. I would have thought getting 2 superstars out of Melbourne and convince them to come to Cronulla. But as soon as they signed, their first interviews were Craig Fitzgibbon was the thing that convinced us.
Yeah, he must have had a lot of faith in his ability to recruit because he deserves a massive rap for identifying the club's potential because I didn't see it. I thought they'd still be... if Sharkies were still battling around the 8, I would have said, yeah, that's pretty stock standard. Now they're looking like a genuine premiership threat.
And you're on, name a player that hasn't improved under Fitzgibbon at the Sharks.
It's crazy.
Everyone's always he got Nico Hines and he won the day. But everyone around Nico Hines has improved out of sight. When Tim said the other day that Moylan led the NRL for try contributions, I couldn't believe that.
I know. Absolutely wild. Matty Moylan's taking scoots in that now. He couldn't get to full speed a couple of years ago.
Yep.
But he would be worried about doing his hammies. Now he's bloody taking scoots, making it's just, it's so impressive. So what a get for the Sharkies, and the Sharkies fans must be so excited to be engaged with their club right now.
And I mean, we'll talk about it soon, but even their game yesterday, I thought Canterbury looked unreal. And then you look up at the scoreboard and you go, Shit.
I know.
How good's this footy team?
I know. I thought doggies looked good, especially in the first half. And then all of a sudden you're going, oh, okay, damn. Look what just happened.
And then I honestly walked away from yesterday going, geez, are Canterbury not that good, or did they just come up against a top-tier side?
Yeah, like a Roosters level, Storm level, Penrith level side. Is that what we just saw?
And then we saw the week before that, the trials, they brought in all the reserve graders and they dominated as well.
It's bizarre. Like, it's so quick. Like, it's so quick they've turned around. Like, and again, they've done it with, like, Hines was, he wasn't like a Tedesco signing. Like, this was a guy that was on the bench for the Storm behind Pappenhausen. You know, he came on and killed it. No, there's no denying that. But I mean, this is a guy that it's easy to look back now and go, oh yeah, Hines, he was the man, and it was so obvious that he was going to be what he was going to be. But here's a guy, I think he got offered like, it was like $300K by the Broncos.
Yep.
Like, imagine if the Broncos had have offered him decent coin, 500.
Game changer. It's a franchise changer.
It's literally would have changed the
for
franchise.
decades, I think.
It literally would have changed our franchise. Could you imagine him up in Brisbane in that 7 jersey?
And like just to show their depth, their bench yesterday: Wade Graham, Oregon Kafusi, Hamlin Welle, and Cam McInnes. They would start in the vast majority of teams.
Yeah. Wild. So great stuff for the Sharkies. Api Coruscant named Tigers captain. Look, a lot of people, because of the things that he said and but it's like when you're trying to be the best you can be, or you're trying to win games, or the best business you can be, you can't get caught up in like petty, oh, well, you said this, so you can't be captain. It's like, look, what Appy said, silly, shouldn't have said it. We all agree that. But are you going to not have the best guy as captain just because of some silly remarks on day 3 of a bender or day 2 of a bender? Like, come on. Like, you're shooting yourself in the foot to send a message of like, we don't get talked about like that. You always need to think, whether it's in business or a team, what is the best for the team? Not what are my feelings and how am I heard about something's been said? It's like, no, what is the best for the team? Api Coruscant is the best man for the job to be captain, in my opinion.
I agree. I would have him as a skipper too. He is just the best player on the team. He's going to be at hooker. He's going to control the entire direction of this side, which they have lacked for so long. It's not even funny. He comes from a winning culture. He's like, in my opinion, Appy brings winning culture. Like, he has carried it from team to team to team. So I'm just glad that the Tigers haven't, like, they've obviously got John Bateman, Clemmer, all these guys. Like, they could have quite easily, and I was expecting them to go, here's 4 captains again. I love that they've just gone, fuck it. He's the best footballer on the park. He is going to be what this franchise is about. We're going to build around him, so they should.
Yeah.
He's our skipper.
Yeah. Agreed, mate. Thought it was the right decision. Adam Dwighty, I think it's Dwighty, that's how you say it?
I think it's Dewey. They said on the telecast yesterday that he wants it pronounced Dewey because that's how it's pronounced for his father.
Yeah, because I had him on the potty and I was like, how do you actually say it, bro? And he was like, Dwighty. And I kept getting it wrong. I'm probably getting it wrong right now. But he was like, yeah, but my dad just says Dewey because he wants to, like, he just wanted to say.
Well, what they said yesterday was that it was Dwighty when he was with the Lebanon camp because that's the correct pronunciation. But when he's here, he pronounces it the way that his father pronounces it, apparently.
Yeah, I can understand that. Like if you're in like a different country and you just kind of not want to fit in because he fits in, like of course he fits in. But you know what I mean? You don't want people butchering your last name every time trying to say it the right way. You're like, no, it's all good. Just like, for example, when people used to say Deanan all the time, I'm just like, yeah, all right. It's like, it's not the way you say it, but I don't sit here and like, oh, yeah, whatever I say. Extensile 2024. Man, started off the game yesterday like, far out, bro. Adam Dewey what is Adam doing? And then all of a sudden, like he just turns, it's like he just flicked a switch.
Yeah. And
he was crucial to their win yesterday. So what I love about Dewey is he's a battler. He's going to come all day long, every day. He's a ultimate competitor. So I think this is smart by the Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, that game yesterday, I texted you after 15 minutes ago. I don't know if he's a 5'8", man.
Mate.
I still stand by that. I think he's a better footballer than what he is 5'8". And I don't know what position suits him best. It probably is 6, but like some of the things he did early in that game yesterday, I was just going, I don't know. I texted you, and then literally my next 7 texts said, oh, no, that was nice. Yeah. Oh, that was good. Okay, fair. That was a good play. Like, I think he's
a 6, and like what I said in the comment, the message, I think he's a 6. He just needs sometimes that patience of a 6. Yeah. Just that ability to go, It's like what Jackie Whiten has really brought into his game. I don't think he's the same player as Jackie Whiten, but I see him as similar to Whiten, where he's a better footy player than any position that he plays. And so with Adam Doueihi, sometimes he just needs to go, and look, who am I to say? But sometimes he just needs to be like, you know what? Build pressure. The big competitive plays, they're going to come. And we saw that. As soon as everything settled down and got into the rhythm of the match, the big moments came for Doueihi, and he killed it. So what I love about him as well, he's a clubman. Like he wants to win. He wants what's best for the club. I think it's a great signing.
And that's what, like, there was a moment there early in that game yesterday where I can't remember who threw it to him, but they threw a shit pass to him that he knocked on. It was the other person's fault. And I love Doueihi. He didn't turn around and hug the guy and high five him. He was fucking filthy. And I think it set the tone for them. And I think that's what they need. I think the Tigers have been cuddling for too long. I
might be wrong and in the minority here, guys. I hate the high fiving after errors. I hate it, and not from a PR perspective of like, oh, the fans are pissed. From the perspective of like, in a team, bro, no, it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not just one set. That was wrong, and it's the same with me. If I knock the ball on, be angry at me. Yep. I fucked up. I should have had my concentrate. Like, look, fair enough. If you get absolutely blindsided and you jammed, you should not be angry at someone. But if you're getting up to play the ball and you knock the ball on, this high-fiving stuff is like, nah, bruh. That was lazy. You should have stayed concentrated. Like, as I said, if it was me, I would want people to be angry at me. We are better than this, guys. I am better than that. I fucked up. Anyway, a little bit of a tangent, but I don't like it.
I mean, you don't see the referees getting a high five when they get something wrong.
Oh, mate, I don't
expect a perfect standard there. So, I agree with you, mate. I think sometimes it's bizarre.
Like, oh, yeah, and you see them like, yeah, all good. Well, yeah, we'll just defend it one set. It's like, no, it's not all good, bro.
No, you can see, like, you see middles drop the ball and wingers run in to pat them on the back. And then they run back out. You're just like, what? How? Why?
It's bizarre. I don't get it. Look, I understand. I get why they do it. Is like, keep them confident. They don't want to go back into their shell. I get all that. But it's like, you got to have enough mental resilience to be able to bounce back from an error if you're an NRL player.
Well, mate, I love that from Doueihi. So he just walked away and you could see on his face he was and I think it was a hooker or whoever it was, you could see they were sort of like, oh, fuck, I don't want to make eye contact with him at the moment. I just got to be better.
Yeah. I mean, if you made an error and you looked over at Lockie, he'd just give you this look and you'd just be yarn. Never again. Never again.
But that works.
It works. Like, you need to be like, you want to be, and as I said, I understand the idea of like keeping players confident and not going into their shell. But it's like, there's also a bunch of players that if you treat them like that, where you're like, oh, all good, bro, they take a hit up and they're not even thinking about holding the ball again. Boom, they drop the ball again. And it's like, oh, I wasn't thinking. It's, you know why you weren't thinking? Because you didn't get a revving. I'm telling you right now, you would be concentrating if you just got a massive spray from your captain. Anyway, great news. Great news for Tigers. I think Adam Doueihi, he's a clubman. He's perfect for the club. And hopefully he can continue building his career, because I love watching Adam Doueihi play. He's a real fan favourite for me.
He's a little bit unorthodox in everything he does, but he's got ticker and he's a goer.
Yeah, that's what you need at the Tigers at the moment. And the good thing is now you've got the class around you. You've got the class there. Need ticker, need the middle. And now, before we get on to the NRL trials, the Garlo boys have been gracious and glorious and all those good things to come in and drop some pies to the Great Bloke Studios. Garlo pies, thank you so much. Holy heckers. Oh, sucked in, Timmy. Sucks shit. You don't get none of that. None of that Garlo pies, Timmy. No, thank you so much, Garlo pies. We will be absolutely annihilating them next week. Legends for dropping them off. Garlo pies are good stuff. Also, Liquor Emporium, St. Peter's, have just put a massive floor stand at the front of their store and are selling cases of Bloke for $55. That's right. Liquor Emporium in St. Peter's, $55 cases of Bloke, massive floor stack. Head in there. Also, Warilla drive-through super sellers are selling heaps of Bloke beer, so get down and give these two stores a try and buy some Bloke beer. So that is Liquor Emporium, St. Peter's, Warilla drive-through super sellers. Also, got some other stores here that we want to shout out and say thanks for stocking Bloke. Terrigal Hotel, Brett in the bottle shop has just stocked up on the midi and the lager, so that's Terrigal Hotel. Bottle-O Lambton, in Newcastle. He's selling Bloke Lager for $19 a six-pack and $59.99 a case. And Sharon and her team has just stocked up there as well. So it's a Bottle-O Lambton in Newcastle. YE Celebrations, Bloke Lager, $16.99 a six-pack. And Bloke Midi, $15.99 a six-pack. Absolutely outstanding prices. So head into those stores if you're from those areas. But let's get into the NRL trials, shall we? NRL trials, the Eels defeat the Knights 36-14. Obviously, biggest talking point, Kalen Ponga. So two things. Yes, did Kalen Ponga struggle? I thought he struggled. I thought that defensively he looked a bit rusty. He didn't play well. And so I am happy to admit KP. Love KP, but I didn't think he played the best, especially in defence. But I think people need to be patient. When was his last first grade game?
Yeah, a while ago.
Long time ago.
His last game was State of Origin.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. So is this saying that he's going to bounce back and be the best defensive six in the competition? No. But I think let's wait until round 6 or 7 before we throw the towel in on the KP. And this is coming from a guy that I would rather at fullback. So I'm not pro KP the 6 in the sense that I think he can do it. He has the potential to do it. But I like him better at fullback. So, yeah, did he play not the best? For sure. But it's his first, we have to be fair. Let's be fair, guys. I understand some people are like, oh, come on, man, you just love KP, rah-rah. I just want fairness on the guy. He hasn't played since Origin. I personally believe that he is a better fullback and he will be a better fullback, but I don't think we have enough information to just go, oh, nah, it's not going to work. It's not going to work, even though there were a few misses on the weekend for him in defence.
Yeah, and I completely agree, mate. I think it's going to take time. I think that this night side will also look very different once Adam Elliott's in it as well. I just think that'll just get him a little bit wider. I think this week it was very Hastings to KP. You knew exactly what was going to happen and they were able to sort of shoot up on him. I thought that there was a number of moments in attack that looked promising to me. He was able to play both sides of the ruck, which is what I want. I actually thought for the first 20 minutes, defensively, he was okay.
Yeah, same.
The last 20 minutes, though, was a disaster, let's be honest here. It was, and you could tell that Mitch Moses identified it and really went at him. So that was a big worry for me that, and if it was the last 15 minutes of the 80th minute, you're going, okay. But it was in the first half. And that's what really alarms me. I know he's the star up there and everything, but fuck, I 100% would have put him out there for a bit more footy in the second half. And said, hey, you struggled in the last 15 minutes. Go and make amends for it.
Yeah. Do you reckon it was because of his calf? That they're just trying to fatigue his calf and strain it kind of thing?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that he's warmed down then going again. Maybe. There's a good chance that probably was a factor. But I thought that he would have come back out in the second half because I didn't think that was up to the standard that they would have been expecting from KP.
Yeah, as I said, not the best game. I agree with you. First 20 was really good, and that's the challenge for KP is this is week in, week out now. It's a long season in the front line, and he's not just any six. He's not just any six that's sitting out there. This is Kalen Ponga. This is a guy that is going to constantly be in video sessions of this is where we're going, guys, going down here. Even if he's the best defensive six in the comp, they're still going to go down his edge to tire him out. So even if he sorts his defence out, so that's the question that remains. I just, as I said, I think a lot of people forgetting this guy hasn't played any rugby league since State of Origin Game 3. Is it excusing that last 20 minutes? Of course not. KP's a way better player than that. We saw it in the first 20. It's not excusing it at all. But we have to, as I said, we have to be fair on the guy. Anyone else that wasn't as, I don't see KP as polarising, but some people do. Anyone else that wasn't a superstar would get the grace of, mate, he hasn't played for what would it be? It would be about 8 months now?
It's last July.
Yeah. So you're looking at about, 7 months? So that's a long time to not have played footy.
Sorry, slight error. He played the game or two after Origin, but he got pretty much knocked out straight after Origin.
Yeah.
So, my bad.
So, as I said, doesn't mean that he's going to come back and be the best six defence. No, not at all. But I do think that most other players would be given the grace of he hasn't played for a while.
Keep in mind as well, as you said, he's got the calf injury, so he hasn't really trained that much with this side as well. It's the fullback's first game with all. Well, he played the week before, but it was his first. No, sorry, he actually didn't play the week before, did he? That was his first game, Lockie Miller.
Yes, first
because
game.
Hodgson played. Yeah, Adam Elliott wasn't there. I think there's a lot of factors that go into this, and I just think that KP's a bit of an easy scapegoat for people. I think it gets thrown around a lot. He's played before and it didn't work there. He's a different footballer now. He's more mature. I think that is a ridiculous argument. I think just give it time. It might not work out. Really good chance it doesn't work out. I think we all go, Darren Lockyer did it like it's fucking easy.
Darren Lockyer had already won premierships and was the best fullback ever to play the game.
But like the way that people talk about how Lockyer did it, they make it sound so casual because Lockyer...
He got torched for the first year.
But no one remembers. No one talks about it.
His defence was not great.
Yep.
And then he worked on it and he became arguably the greatest six the game has ever seen.
Yep.
And so, and I think everyone that is reasonable that's listening to us knows we're not saying that he is, if we give him a year, he's going to be Darren Lockyer. We're just saying that like these things do take time. Like I personally think that he's a fullback. I just think he's a fullback. Does he have the skill set to be a six? For sure. Does he have the skill set to be a good six in the NRL? I definitely think so. But I actually think he has the skill set to rival the tippity top of fullbacks. And I'm talking Tedesco. I think we've seen it before. We've seen it on multiple occasions. So, yeah, just give him some time. Wasn't the best outing. Give him some time. Now, onto the broader scale of things, I'm actually a little bit more on the glass half empty with the Newey Knights. I'm a bit worried.
So am I, mate. I think that their middles have been really disappointing to start this preseason. And for me, like I thought they were disappointing last week, and I thought, okay, this is the week where these two, the two Saifidi boys, will come back and really have a fucking crack at it. I thought Leo Thompson was the best front row forward for the Newcastle Knights on the weekend. I'm very, very worried about the Knights heading into this season, and some of it's not their fault that they've had to, they've had the KP injury, they've had to, have guys in different positions. Adam Elliott's arrived, Lachlan Miller's arrived, but that stuff's out of their control to some extent. The stuff that is in their control, they're not getting the best out of.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, what is, I mean, you could consider it a bit worrisome. It's like Greg Marzhew, Lockie Miller, and this is no disrespect to either player, but they're fringe first graders at the moment. At the moment they are. We both know they can be full-time.
Yep.
They were the two best players.
Yep.
And so it's just like I thought Lockie Miller was he outstanding? Wasn't outstanding, but I thought he was good. Greg Marzhew was phenomenal. And honestly, I know this is hyperbolic. I'm going to say it anyway. Sorts his defence out and errors. He's the best winger in the comp.
Yeah, and he's got that potential.
But it's been a while.
It's been
yeah, for sure.
We've seen him for a long time. There was still 2-3 tries scored down his wing as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But I agree with you. If he gets that defence sorted, which it's not impossible.
No, not
he
at all.
Could be the most damaging guy.
Because his ball running is
insane.
Insane.
Yeah,
insane.
I spoke to Jackson Hastings about him the other day, and he just said, mate, when you're at training and you're opposed him in anything, it's just fucking miss me with that. No thanks.
Honestly, he must be a nightmare. Like, you must be pulling out of tackles constantly going, oh my God, my shoulder's about to fall off.
I don't reckon he realises how strong he is either.
He's bloody... Look, good thing is on the weekend he had no errors. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Just in defence, their edges at certain times throughout that game. Because the reality was, Newcastle were dominating possession and everything early in that game. But every time Parramatta got down the other end, they coasted through for a try.
Yeah.
Like, it was weird when I looked up at the score and went, fuck, it feels like Parramatta's only had X amount of opportunities, but they've also scored X amount of tries every time they're down there. There was that ball that Jacob Arthur threw to, I think it was Murchie on the left edge. At the Knights' right edge, they didn't even count numbers in the lead up to the tackle. It was 4-on-3. There was no communication to get extra guys out there. They all held their own. It was all, and that was from some of their more experienced guys as well.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. The problem with the Knights is I kind of feel like the last 5 years or so we've kind of been like, oh, it'll come good, but it just doesn't seem to. That final step that they need to take just doesn't seem to be there. It is a trial, and as we say throughout all the trial podcast, guys, disclaimer: it's a trial. We could come to round one, and every team that was good could be terrible. Every team that was terrible in the trials could be great. So we are 100% cognizant of it. But we have to, like, if we went with that attitude, we literally just wouldn't do a podcast because we'd just be like, no, don't talk about anything that we saw.
And like the thing that worries me about Newcastle when you talk about compared to other teams in this trial, like you look at from jersey 19 down to 27. There's no one there that I'm looking at going, oh, they could break into this side and make a huge difference. Whereas like the Sharks and these sort of sides, you go and fuck, if there's an injury, that guy might lose his spot.
Yeah.
Like how on earth Newcastle, with the heartland of rugby league they've got up there and the constant talent they're producing, how there really isn't anyone jumping out, like it's bizarre.
Another huge thing, they had more possession than the Eels.
That doesn't shock me in the slightest. It felt like they had all the ball.
They had more possession. They completed at 75%, but the Eels completed at 92%. 92% in the preseason is fucking fantastic. Fantastic.
Very impressive.
I think Lockie Miller's going to have a good year. I think he's going to be really good for him. Really good for him. It's a bizarre situation now that you're in because if, let's say the KP at 6 just doesn't work for some reason, you can't move Lockie Miller from fullback because he's probably going to be one of their best players. Where do you put him?
And that's the problem they now have, that if this doesn't work and you move him back, what was the point?
You can't.
Yeah,
You
it just
literally
makes
can't.
them look stupid.
Yeah.
Mate, just give you, like, Newcastle Knights had more runs. They had more run meters, more post-contact meters. They equaled them for 6 line breaks. They had more tackle breaks. Their average set distance was bigger. They got beat by more than 20 points.
It's bizarre. That edge defense is just like, just some of the defensive lapses I just don't understand. Like, they've got a good side. They've got a good side. They really do.
And I mean, like, you have a look at that side that Parramatta put out. Outside of Will
missing 9.
Pensini, they're all reserve graders in their entire backline. Outside of Gutho and Pensini, they're all reserve graders.
They were missing 9. It's strange because you look at the stats and Knights should have won the game by 13 plus. They missed less tackles, but it's just these like crucial moments where they just seem to, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. As I said, I feel like we come into each year with the Knights and their squad is good. I think their squad on paper should be fighting for the 8. I really do. But unfortunately, it just doesn't seem to be clicking. I do think Adam Elliott and Hetherington will be... Hetherington's there, isn't he?
He's there, but he hasn't... Apparently, he's got an injury as well. He hasn't... I think he's sort of... I think he'll be in the side round 1, but I don't think he's coming off.
Well, I'm hoping Adam Elliott really like glues that up, like those little lapses in judgment that make them get points put on them.
Yeah.
Just glues it up a little bit. Glues the standard. It's only a trial. Things could completely change next week and they could come out and kill it. So I wouldn't be... It wasn't a disaster. It wasn't a disaster. There's some other teams where... Well, there's one specifically where I was like, well, that was an actual disaster. Whereas this one, it was like there were moments of good footy. I thought like the first 20, I felt like they really did control the game. So hopefully they can bounce back.
You can see the shell of a game plan that comes.
There's something it's there. It's there. It really is. Like, they definitely look more dangerous with Hastings, Ponga and Miller than I feel like they were looking most of the year with the other setup that they had. And I also think Brayley being back playing regular footy will help a lot. So I wouldn't put a line through the Knights challenging for the 8 this year. There's a few things that are definitely concerning. You know, their inability to hold teams out, even though they have more possession, But these are the kind of things that in trials can happen, like where you just have these, like, you might have a reserve grader in a specific spot and he's the one that, like not to say that was the case, but that could be the case. So don't be too disappointed. They can turn this around. It's not the end of the world, but it wasn't the best showing. It wasn't the best showing.
No, far from the best showing, and I worry for them this year that I think that if KP or Hastings goes down...
Well, it's like even like KP, like he's got to get through a whole year in the front line, making that.
You know what? When he was defending well, I was almost going, fuck, he's defending too tough for what I want to see from KP.
Yeah,
I'd rather see him ease back a little bit.
Just chop him.
Conscious.
Just take him down, chop him. You know, if it's an ineffective tackle, that's fine. Just get through the work. So yeah, it's a huge year for KP. It's honestly, You could even argue it's career defining for KP. Not to say that like if he doesn't play well this year, it's all over. Not at all. But it is to say like if he is to come out and kill it, it'll almost like reaffirm that, oh, this is the superstar that we really know and love. Like kind of like that game 3. Well, the whole Origin series, I thought he was probably the best player of the whole Origin series this year. It made a lot of people take a seat back and go, oh yeah, that's the guy that we know. That's the Kalen Ponga that is literally the game's biggest superstar. And this year he has the opportunity to do that. And I think he has the talent to do it. I really do.
And I think it's career defining as well because I think and it's unfair on KP, but I think it's his reality. If he doesn't play well this year, I think he'll have a new coach going into round 1 next year.
Oh, absolutely he'll have a new coach.
He might have a new coach midway.
Because they don't make the 8 if he's playing poorly.
No.
Like, no way.
No way. And as you said, he went to Origin, everyone went, oh, fuck, I remember KP is this guy. But he hasn't done it for Newcastle in a number of years. They've now moved him to another position. They've got him the halfback. If it doesn't work this year, they have to make changes.
I hope he does because he's so good for the game. He's such a big superstar. So good to watch. Holy shit. When he's silky, oh my God. Outside of that with players, kind of went through it all. But yeah, so not the end of the world for the Knights at all. Like there wasn't disaster. There is a shell there. There is something building. It's just a matter of can they take that final step and challenge for finals footy.
We'll say, loved Bradman Best's try.
Yeah.
That was mad.
Oh, came off Greg Marzu run, Bradman Best. That's what, again, it's like, that's where you sit back and go, oh, there's the Newey Knights. Oh, shit.
And wouldn't it be unreal if that was the Knights brand? If it was that high octane on the front foot with KP, to be unreal. Like even when he scooped out of dummy half there, like you could just see him slip straight back into touch football sort of mode.
Yeah,
straighten up this guy, get on his inside shoulder, put Bradman Best through. Fuck, I hope Bradman Best can play an entire season.
Oh, he's a beast. Like him and Marzu bringing the ball out of their own end. Oh,
like it could be one of the best left edges in rugby league.
If they play to their potential, for sure. For sure. There's no...
and you've got KP with, probably, if not the best, right up there with the best right to left pass. It could be so exciting to watch.
It could be brutal. Like for defences, it could just be an assault of just skill with power.
And like a Sunday afternoon at Newcastle this year could be so exciting.
Yeah, so hopefully, it wasn't the best outing, but also wasn't disaster. Now, on to the Eels. I thought Eels looked incredible. And they look much better than I thought they would. I honestly was surprised at how good they looked, how controlled they were, how their ability to execute even half chances getting the job done. I thought the Eels looked absolutely outstanding. I was shocked, honestly, how good they looked.
Yeah, I said last year that I thought, it'd be interesting with Parramatta what impacts them more, the guys they've lost or just the experience they gained from that grand final. And I think it's pretty evident, mate, that like Mitch Moses and Dill Brown, they look like they have just gone to another level. It's like they've just upgraded their maturity, their confidence, everything. And I had a lot of worries about Josh Hodgson and what his role would be around 9 and whether this team would still belong to Moses and Brown. Signs so far are good for me.
He looked much better this week. And he didn't have to do, he doesn't have to do much. Yep. He really doesn't have to do much. Doesn't have to overplay his hand. Doesn't need to get through a mountain of creativity around the ruck like Mitchell Moses.
If anything, I just think his biggest role that he could play is just being the experienced head, the experienced voice in this team. Where, and like people say last year, they got to the grand final and that's all good and well, but mate, they were so inconsistent the entire year.
Oh, massively.
It was not even funny.
I mean, everyone wrote them off because they were so inconsistent.
Yeah.
So that's what's so impressive about this. This is a trial where they're completing at 92%. This is good science. With
journeymen all through the back line.
Yeah. I thought Sydney was great. I really think Sydney's going to put some pressure on.
He'll be there round 1, I reckon.
Wagga Blake, you reckon take his spot?
Wagga Blake, who's out. Well, I think he'll be there round 1 because they've got a few injury clouds. You got Wagga Blake, who broke his arm a few weeks ago. You've got Canberra Raiders, Simonson. He's reportedly out for the first few weeks. But mate, if Zach Senior's going to play that way, he is just a little ball of energy.
I think he's been great the last 2 weeks.
Unreal. Yeah. So I reckon he can find a spot in this Parramatta side.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. If there's injuries, absolutely. And I think even let's say it was full strength and then there became an injury a few rounds in, there's a world where he comes in and he doesn't get taken back out for this year from the form that we've seen so far.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if he's in their best best 13 by the end of the year.
Yeah,
for sure.
agreed. Who else? Your man, Jermaine Hopgood. How good is he? Holy.
Mate, he's...
he might be the difference for them. He really might be the difference.
There's a good chance he will be.
Yeah.
I love everything about him. I tell you what, I underrated his ball playing. I knew he'd be solid, but fuck, there was a pass that he threw to Mitch Moses in this game that was tremendous. His timing and everything, his offload, and I noticed this in New South Wales Cup last year when I watched him. Like, he kind of looks like he's pushing offloads, but they never go wrong.
I know, it's crazy. Crazy.
And like there's offloads that he throws that if there were other guys, you'd go, oh, fuck, what are you doing? But he just makes it work. They very rarely turn poorly or it's a turnover, anything like that. And he's so good to play second phase footy off, but he just works his dick off.
Oh, mate. Gets through a mountain of work every game. And again, you could make the argument that, Isaiah Yeo is the difference between Penrith and the Panthers. Like, it's one position where there is a clear, I guess, there's daylight of the Eels' best 13. I personally don't even think they had a 13 last year, really. They just had some big back rowers or front rowers that were playing there. Whereas this, you go, okay, obviously Isaiah Yeo is a better 13 and by a substantial margin at the moment. But they're not in different worlds now. You know what I mean? Like, they can do similar things. Jermaine Hopgood can ball play. He gets through a bunch of work. It really could be the difference for them.
And I mean, you have a look as well. Like, that's his first game for Parramatta. He played for the All-Stars last week. So that's his first time playing with Dill Brown, Mitch Moses, all these sort of guys. And like, if I showed you that with no context, you would assume he'd been there for years.
Yeah.
Never missed a beat at any moment. I think it was Gutho was talking about in post-game about how he's just fit in perfectly. He's tough. He's skillful. He's just exactly what this side needs.
120 metres, 38 tackles. How many offloads? 7 passes. Anyway,
3 offloads.
3 offloads. Like, just great stuff. Who else? I actually thought Jacob Arthur was much better this week. Much better this week. We are okay. Like, maybe, last week I was genuinely sitting there going, far out. Like, he should have really dominated that game. Like, he's the most experienced. He's been in the biggest games. Whereas I felt Jacob Arthur came on and did a good job. So I'm a bit more like, okay, I can see it. Like, maybe this is the way forward. Who else was like Mitchell Moses just goes from strength to strength. There's a world where Mitchell Moses ends his career as maybe not a cult hero, but like almost a fan favourite with the Eels, I reckon. Like, there is a world where he ends his career as a fan favourite because he's just earned it.
I think at Parramatta for sure. Yeah,
like,
his like arc of who he's been has been incredible to watch.
It's one of the best arcs in the game. It really is.
Mate, you think about when he arrived at the Tigers, he was meant to be the absolute next superstar. Left the Tigers, everyone was off him. Parramatta consistently underachieved with him. Then all of a sudden, he gets called into the Origin arena. Everyone gives him shit for that. I thought he handled himself well there. And then he takes Parramatta to a grand final when no one thought he would. And now I think he comes back and like this team is 100% his now. And I'm confident Parramatta's going to be a top 8 team. I don't know if they'll be a top 4 team, but I'm confident they'll be a top 8 team. And I think they're going to be a team that you're not going to want to play at the end of the season.
100%. Like, the fact that they can do that with less possession and put 36 points on you is just super impressive. And again, if the commentators were correct, they're missing 9 of their starters or 9 people that could have been in their top squad. So, yeah, look, it's just really, really exciting times for the Eels. I thought there'd be a little bit of a drop-off, almost like a grand final hangover, and it is still trials, so we will be yet to see. But I see them as a top 8 side this year, and I do think that they'll be able to take it to any team this year again. I thought Gutho was outstanding again, really, really good. What do you think, Matty?
Yeah, I'm with you. They surprised me a bit, Parra. I thought Knights would give them a little more for their run, but I was really impressed with the Eels. I just thought that their losses are going to really hurt them this year. Like, obviously, Reid Marnie being the big one and Papali'i, but you kind of forget, like, they made the grand final last year and they made the top 4, right? Yeah, they made the top 4. And in my head, they weren't in the kind of like the top 5 or 6 teams for me this year. And that's just my opinion. But then I watch that game, I think, all right, maybe I'm underestimating Para a little bit. Maybe I'm overestimating the losses a little too much. Again, it's just a trial, but I think maybe, I have been underestimating Para a little bit for this year.
So great signs for the Eels. Really, really good signs. Now, on to Roosters Manly. We'll talk about Manly first. I mean, they look so much better than I thought they were going to look. Like, so much better. And I don't know whether it was because the Roosters played quite poorly, in my opinion. But they looked like a very united team. It didn't look like there was any not playing for each other. The young fellas look confident. Like, it's from what we've seen so far, they've won the preseason challenge, which, yes, it's just trials, so it's not that big of a deal. But at the end of the day, like, we can only work off the information we've got. Did anyone come into this preseason challenge thinking that the Manly Seagulls would win it? No, I don't think so. Although when they hired Seabold, I was like, I would have liked Seabold to go and get some success in like New South Wales Cup or the Super League. I did say I didn't think his career was done. Like, even though I disagreed with a lot of his decisions at the Brisbane Broncos, if he is going to be a great coach, that might have been the best lesson ever. Now, look, it's a long year. It could all turn to shit. You have to remember, at the start of his reign, he did have the Broncos absolutely firing. That young side where, so much so, the pundits in the game were saying, this is the best young forward pack we've seen in like forever, and they're a premiership threat. So this has happened before. So we have to be aware of that. But I'm confident in saying, like, surely he's learnt from that, because Manly looked fantastic. This is minus DCE, minus Tom Trbojevic, and they look great.
Take out St Helens. This was the biggest surprise for me over the weekend, by far and away. Just how, and I don't really care for the scoreline, but just how impressive Manly was without those guys. Normally you take those guys out and they just fall into a heap. You know, the other beauty of this is too, if you would have said to me last week that Manly win this game and they're dominant, I would have thought, okay, Josh Schuster must have had a blinder. He was good. He wasn't great.
But he wasn't like, crazy tear the teams apart kind of thing. He just had, he was a really good solid 6.
They just played like a good 13. That's like, and I think that's always sort of been in Manly DNA, realistically. They're now sort of playing a game where they've got these couple of superstars that seemingly dictate results. But, if all these other guys can keep playing to that level, what about Kohler? He's a freak.
So good, man. So explosive. His defence.
And that's the thing, and we've said it before, it's all good and well that he's fast and he's quick, but he's one of the best defensive centres in the comp.
He just chops blokes. He just explodes through their midsection.
And it's all good and well to be a good tackler, but he's a good defender. He makes, like I said to you last year, there was a moment there where he shot up and made a tackle, and I said to you, he's going to get caught out here eventually. And you went, mate, he never gets it wrong. He always makes the right decision.
That's crazy.
And I've sort of been waiting for him to get caught out, but he doesn't.
I know.
And on the rare occasions that he does, he's quick enough to cover you anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that him and Olakau'atu, I think he's in for a huge year.
Olakau'atu's in for a massive year, I think.
Especially once he gets DCL on that edge. I think they'll be very ball dominant down that side.
I'll be surprised if Olakau'atu isn't in the Origin squad come game 1. He's a scary, scary back rower, and he's just so aggressive that, like, he impacts games constantly where you're going, holy shit. And it's not once every, few weeks or whatever. I mean, I know there were a few weeks last year where he did fade a little bit, but most of the time he impacts games, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And I think as well, you normally, like, when you get guys that are his size and his ability, sometimes they wait for the game to come to them, and it can be frustrating.
He never does.
He's the opposite.
Yeah, which is, you're right. You're 100% right. It's almost like their biggest downfall is, like, for example, what was the biggest knock-on kick-out for a while? Kind of waits for the game to come to him.
Yep.
Obviously, he grew out of that, and he matured into a player that would make sure the game didn't just come to him. Olakau'atu has never struggled with that problem. Never. He's looking for contact. He's looking for physicality. He wants someone to test him. Like, let's go.
Like, you think about some of the shots we've seen Suaalii put on over the last year or so. Fuck, he got manhandled in that one.
Well, so Olakau'atu has knocked out multiple people running the ball. And not in a legal way, in a legal way. This is how damaging this guy is. He's also got a crazy offload, really good offload, good ball. He's a former basketball player, so really, really good ball
and
skills.
That's I think people sleep on how consistent he is because you quite often think these big guys with the offload and they're inconsistent, they're in and out of games. He's not.
No, he's really
You get
not.
the same every single week from him.
As I said, except for it was a few weeks last year when everything was going on that he was a bit quiet. Outside of that, he's been awesome. Another guy who I really think could be the reason why everything is changing, Chan Kum Tong. I really think that he's going to put pressure on Lockie Croker. The creativity, the explosiveness. He's a genuine number 9. He seemed like a real down-to-earth guy in the post-match interview. I think he could be the guy that takes pressure off DCE and Tom Trbojevic. Think about, when did Penrith start going really well? Say it every time. Api Coruscant goes there. All of a sudden, Cleary becomes one of the best 7s we've ever seen. Is there a world where Gordon Chan Kum Tong, hopefully I'm saying it right, Chan Kum Tong, is there a world where he does kind of release the Manly Sea Eagles from being so reliant heavy on DCE and Tom Trbojevic? Maybe, maybe not. But I tell you what, he's been one of their best players the last few weeks.
Well, I would be playing him as my 14, I think.
He's got to be 14.
Yeah. Mate, I'll be honest with you, I thought it was strange last year. I watched him play at the start of the season, thought he was really impressive, and it surprised me when Manly brought Chico into the system. Chico's a good footballer, but I thought, why are they bringing in another hooker to put in front? And I don't know if he was injured or whatever it might be. Whatever.
He's quite young, isn't he?
He is young, yeah. But it really surprised me when Chico walked in there and then he was playing each other cup. He ended up playing a bit of halfback as well, Chico and whatnot. But I think this guy, he's got to be in the side. I think
he's won the 14 role, surely.
He isn't in the top 30. He got upgraded for 2024, so he's still not in the top 30 for this year.
I don't know if that's true. I've heard different.
Really?
Yeah, I saw his manager the other day when he re-signed posted a thing about him being in the top 30. So
because why would you play him in this trial if you can't play him in round 1?
Yeah, on all the website and everything, it says he's not, but I'm pretty sure he will be.
Okay.
Or he already is, and there's a bit of misreporting going on there. Yeah. Mate, if he's not in the top 30, you get him in.
Well, if he's not in the top 30, who's the other hooker in the top 30?
They would go with Lawton, who's not a hooker.
He's not a hooker. And Croker, again, one of the most improved players, but he's not an out-and-out hooker. Yeah. I thought he was outstanding, Gordon. And
I also think with his running game, even if you wanted to play Lockie Croker for 80 or whatever, I think he could play a similar role to Dill Walker. He's low to the ground. He's got
so
really
explosive.
Quick leg speed. I think he can play. And you can just tell by the way that he plays his footy. If you said to him, I'm going to play in the front row, he'd go, yeah, fucking sweet.
Yeah, sweet.
I'll do it.
Real cute too.
Very cute, yeah.
Just cute.
Deceptively cute.
When he started interviewing, he's just a cute little dude. Yeah. Fuck, you're cute and explosive, bro. Might be the cutest explosive bloke in the NRL. Who do you reckon top 5 cuties are in the NRL?
I wish I had Tim here.
Only on Bloke in a Bar could we call NRL players cute. Like everyone else thinks we're fucking Neanderthals and footy players, and we're calling them little cutie pies. Hey, look, I tell you right now, people listening, they act all masculine, these NRL players, but some of them are little softies. Not some of them, a lot of them. Little softies underneath all the chest pumping. Anyway, let's know in the comment section. Top 5 cuties in the NRL. Little cutie patooties. I saw Roasty's hottest 100 the other day. Some controversial ones in there. Oh, was there?
Yeah.
I love that from Roasty. It's such a good idea, hottest 100, but it's blokes. Number 1 was Nico.
Yeah, Nico, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it's a lot of a popularity.
Very much so popularity. Fuck, I think Cam Murray's consistently unlucky.
Yeah, that's it. Look, I think he's being robbed constantly. So what was the top 10? Could you Matty, could you get the top 10 up? We'll read out the top 10.
Dill Brown was up there, Mr. Cool,
Mr.
KP.
Cool. But anyway, back to rugby league. I thought Kelma Tuolangi, is that how you say it?
I believe so.
Yeah, Tuolangi. Good.
Yeah.
Real good. Think about their edges. Olakau'atu and Tuolangi coming at you. Fuck.
Yeah, Kelmer's always had ability. There was just times last year for the Tigers. He's one of those guys who'd do something exciting and then there was always an injury or a HIA. Or there was just always something stopping him from putting together 3 or 4 solid weeks of footy. So I really hope that he gets an extended opportunity there. I mean, he looks like Olakau'atu on the other edge.
I know, it's scary.
Like, I mistake them. Like, they look very similar, and the way that he moves is very similar as well.
They're big, like athletic, mobile, really. But what's interesting as well, on both sides, they both had a line break assist as well. Yep. Like, that is scary when you've got 2 sides that can do that.
Just on Gordon, Chancum Tong. So I looked up the Insta post. It is top 30, but it is for 2024. Like, I've zoomed in on the contract.
Okay.
And it's for 2024. So I think he's still development for this year.
So what does that mean?
What does that mean? So he can't play NRL?
Until round 11.
That's interesting. Seabold, surely he's going to try and...
Yeah, I'd be moving the decks around there.
I'd be trying to get him on the bench at 14, surely. Anyway.
Do you want the top 10?
Yeah, top 10.
All right. 10, Ruben Garrick. 9, Herbie Farnworth. 8, Pappenhausen. 7, Joey Manu. 6, Jordan Ricky. 5, Reece Walsh. 4, Dill Brown. 3, Kalen Ponga. 2, Cameron Murray. And 1, Nico Hines.
Yeah, I'll pay all that.
Would you have KP that high?
KP it's more about his charisma. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's
I'd have Connor Watson in the top 10 somewhere.
Yeah, Connor Watson be, but it's like it's the biggest names usually in rugby league.
Where was Garrick? Was he 10?
He was number 10. Yeah.
Tough sell that. He'd be higher for me, I reckon.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think Garrick's like he's always like been bronzed, but I think he was a bit extra bronzed on the weekend.
Another guy that I thought was absolutely outstanding, KO Weeks. Yeah. He's good. He is silky. And the good thing about KO Weeks is that if Tom's injured, he offers something different to Ruben Garrick. Like, Garrick is going to get through a bunch of work, be super consistent. He played fantastic when he was back there, but KO Weeks is a ball player.
Yep.
And as a fullback these days, you basically need to be a ball player. Like, unless you're Dylan Edwards and you can get through a bazillion, runs and 1,000 tackle breaks. Whereas KO Weeks was silky. He had 3 try assists. 3 try assists. And he's not usually even a fullback, isn't he? He's usually a 6.
Yeah, he normally plays in the halves. So I think he's as good at one as he is in the halves, but that's the sort of guys you want in your squad.
Mate, he was outstanding. What about Cooper Johns? How good's he been?
Mate, I'll be honest with you. When Manly signed Cooper Johns, I sort of went, why? From what I'd seen at Melbourne, I was far from impressed from Cooper. I saw him play a reserve grade game at the end of last year, and he was very poor in that one. And I didn't think he had these games in him. I think he is so impressive, and I think it is so good. And credit to Seabold to be able to get this out of him in such a short time. And, mate, if I'm Josh Schuster, I'm looking over my shoulder.
It's pressure, definitely.
100%. Whereas when he signed, I sort of went, sure, it's paper pressure, but it's not. Yeah, I think he's been incredible.
He's been outstanding. I thought Schuster was good. I do wish he would, I'm being super picky here, but I do want to see him run the ball still.
Yep.
I don't want to just see him fall back into, and look, if they're scoring tries and winning games, do whatever that is. Whatever is doing that, do that. But I do think there's going to probably come a time where he's going to need to begin to run the ball so that it creates more pressure on defence.
Yeah, and if they do play where he's playing a simple role, just passing out the back to Turbo all the time, play Cooper Johns there and play Schuster at 13.
That's a point. That's a good point. Because who was there 13? Sean Kepi. I actually thought Sean Kepi was good, but he's more of a front rower. He's a front rower.
And that's where I thought it was pretty evident that Jake Trbojevic, his role has sort of changed a little bit. So the 13 jersey is going to be interesting, but when you got a halfback like DCA that's so ball dominant, not sure if it matters.
True. So Manly, far out. Like, with the information that we have, they could be a real surprise package this year. Like, I didn't have them in the 8 this year going into the year. You bring a DC and a Tom Trbojevic back into this side, they go from all of a sudden out of the 8 to, could they go another premiership scare like they did a couple of years ago? So really, really interesting. Now on to the Roosters. Trent Robinson said something really interesting after the game. He said, or maybe it was like, I don't know, when it was straight after or whatever. He said, we aren't going to give Suoli'i and Manu like a license to roam until we sort out everything going on in the middle at the moment. We've got no, I guess, structure or whatever. The thing with the Roosters is they're notorious slow starters. Like, you look at their premiership years, especially, I think, 2018. I mean, there was a period there in 2018 where, like, Tedesco wasn't even playing that well. Think about that. This is a bloke that's won 5 times or 4 times in a row the Player of the Year. So it's hard to, like, you know, if I'm just going to look at the information that I saw, they definitely didn't look like the Roosters that I know. They definitely weren't playing to how incredible their roster is. But because I know that they are notorious slow starters to the season, it's hard to get a gauge on where they really are at. But I thought they were quite disappointing on the weekend.
Interesting comments from Robbo, because I think they get so much of their middle momentum through Joey Manu. I think he's so important the way that he comes in on that. He normally picks up that second or third tackle, and they really get a roll off him. So, I mean, I wasn't expecting them to let Suoli'i roam at all. I thought that they would just keep him there. But I thought Manu would. And, yeah, I thought their middles, I mean, I'm expecting them to run out like this round one. Collins, Smith, Lodge, Butcher, Radley.
Yeah.
And, yeah, they were pretty disappointing in this one.
Yeah, it's surprising, man. It was, I again, it's hard to say because, like, Robbo literally caters his training and everything all year, like tapering everything to become, when it comes to grand final time, they are absolutely red hot, red firing. Whereas, like, you know, say the Storm, for example, have a different approach. They are, from round one, they want to bank as many wins as possible so that they know by the end of the year they're going to be playing finals footy. So it's really hard to get a gauge, but yeah, they just didn't have the same. And look, to be fair, in the halves, it was Sam Walker and Kiri were missing. Plus, they had a new 9 in Brandon Smith. So that could have been a real reason, you know, for, I guess, why they struggled. But even like, I mean, even Teddy was a little bit quiet.
Yeah.
And like, we're talking about Teddy here. Now, look, maybe he's, you know, Teddy had 81 run meters.
Wow.
So, and that's, Teddy does that in fucking 30 minutes usually, or 20 minutes even. So I'm just wondering, like, are they fatigued? Are they still, I don't know, I guess, hungover from that back-to-back? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure about the Roosters, because on paper, they almost have too many superstars. It's like, that's how stacked they are on paper. But it's just a matter of putting it all together. What do you think of the Roosters?
Yeah, I didn't think that they were great, mate. I thought Manly were very good, to be fair, but I thought that with the Roosters, you know, despite missing their halves, Suoli'i went down, Joey Manu wasn't there. I mean, that's a forward pack that should never be losing a contest. And I'm also looking at Manly going, they're probably short of front row forward, realistically. And I thought they got the better of this Roosters pack. And as you said, mate, they are very slow starters. Them and the Canberra Raiders just always tend to start seasons slow. And for the Roosters, quite often when they start slow, it normally doesn't mean anything. They find their way by the back end. So, yeah, I think the Roosters, unfortunately, and I'll probably say it a lot this year, but I think it's going to be a lot about just judging them on what they do in that last 8 weeks of the competition, realistically, because I'm sure that's all Manu that's all Robbo's going to have his eyes on.
Well, you look at last year, like, they all of a sudden clicked into gear and they were super scary. Like, you're going, okay, this is a premiership winning side. And
I think that if the rivalry with South Sydney wouldn't have got in the way that day, it could have been a very different season for them.
I think they go to the grand final. I'm not sure if they win, but I think if that thing didn't blow out and they lost all those players and I think they get to the grand final at least.
For sure, because that just turned into a war. That wasn't a game of football.
Nah.
Like, it was like there was no tomorrow all of a sudden.
They were just refusing to take a step back.
Yeah.
But in their defence, they were missing literally their 6 and 7.
Yep.
So it's very hard it's just hard to judge when you don't have your 6 or 7 there.
Especially when the 6s and 7s are those two. They're not stock standard halves.
Nah.
Like, you can't, if you take Sam Walker out, your entire game plan has to change. You can't replicate what a Sam Walker does. So I personally don't think there's a stack to read into with this Roosters side off the back of this.
Yeah, because they are notorious slow starters. Whereas if you go to Newcastle, even though with Newey, like it's a trial, they could come out and blitz it, they need a fast start. So as a coach, surely you're prepping them for that first.
Yeah.
Because he literally, and unfortunately, probably won't have a job if they struggle first 10 weeks. Whereas like Robbo's he's not going anywhere. Like.
No. I think probably one of the bigger talking points, mate, and we spoke about it last week, some of these young outside backs they've got.
Oh, so I reckon if
Junior
Palga, if he doesn't start this year, I'll be shocked. I think he should be in that spare centre spot that they currently I think they're rotating Corey Allen and Jackson Polo. I think Palga's done enough to get that spot. He was phenomenal. And he was last week as well.
And if I was to pick my next best, I think I would go for Katoa. He's looked great for them as well.
Yeah, their young backs are super impressive.
And I personally think the best one out of all of them, his name is Robert Toya. He's recovering from an ACL this year. I think you'll see him probably mid-season. But I reckon if he was fit right now, he'd be another one that we'd be chucking in there. So they've got plenty of depth there at the Sydney Roosters.
So Junior Palga came on and had the most tackle breaks of any player on the field.
Yeah.
Was he a teenager?
He might be 20,
maybe
21. Yeah.
So basically came on 145 metres and 5 tackle breaks. That's incredible. And also if you're watching the game, he actually made some really silky decisions as well with the ball in hand. I really like Junior Palga, and as I said, I would have him in that centre spot that they've almost struggled to fill. Like recently, they've almost like brought in new people ever since like BMOS and all that retired. They struggled.
I've got a backtrack here. He's 27 years old.
Junior Palga.
Yeah, I didn't I had no idea.
I was just looking. I was just seeing if anyone there had the same name because I wasn't completely sure. But yeah, it says here he's 27.
Sydney Roosters, 2023.
Holy moly.
Born
What
in 96.
where has he... Well, I mean, what? Is he from Union? Like...
No, he was at the New Zealand Warriors New South Wales Cup team 2016, 2018. He was with Wynnum 2019.
He's played for the Tigers a couple games.
Yeah, joined the Tigers just after COVID.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
That's shocking because he has been outstanding for the Roosters. I mean, that changes a little bit in the sense that you got to ask yourself, why is a guy that talented not playing first grade week in, week out? You know, has he been unlucky with injury or... I'm not sure. But I'd still have him purely on form. He would still get that centre spot for me.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously the argument that, you know, why hasn't he got a shot? But after watching him play and knowing that he's that old, that makes me more interested, to be honest with you.
That's a strange one. Like, because he was shockingly good. Wow. Like, and here I am thinking we've got this 19, 20-year-old gun.
So was I, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, good on him.
Shout out to Junior looking so young.
Mate, yeah, shout out. What's a skincare routine, bro? Like, good on him for sticking at it and having a crack because he might be playing round one in a first grade side, in the Roosters' first grade side. And if he plays like that all year, he'll be getting contract offers left, right, and centre.
For sure.
That's how good he was. Wow. Another guy that's I think is really good workhorse is Ben Thomas. He gets through a mountain of work every time he comes on. But yeah, outside of that, really hard to read into the Roosters. Really hard. Not sure what else to say about the Roosters. Anything else about the Roosters?
No, man, I think that just about covers it. I think there's not a stack to read into with them.
Now, on to Rabbits versus the Dragons. This was definitely one of those games where huge concerns with the Dragons. Huge concerns. And look, a couple of years ago, similar situation happened where they were really poor in the trials. They eventually were hanging around the middle of the table, so it wasn't a disaster. But I really think the Dragons are in a bit of a tough spot at the moment. The way they played, the energy they played with, I'm concerned.
Mudgy, nice weather, fantastic field. They didn't even look like they were happy to be playing footy again, right? That was like, the biggest standout for me was just their body language in general. Even after they'd conceded tries, it was just, I hate to say it, but they look like to me a team waiting for their coach to get sacked.
Yeah.
I apologies, Dragons fans, but every Dragons fan I've spoken to sort of agrees. Like, it's tough to watch, and you know, we spoke on the weekend about it. Like, fuck, I feel sorry for Benny Hunt.
Yeah, it's bizarre, man. I mean, I think Tyrell Sloan's a perfect example. Comes into the grade, confident, explosive. You can see all the talent, and then just ever since last year, his confidence is shattered. His confidence is shattered, and we know he's a gun. Everyone can see it. Boom, it's right there in front of our eyes, like super fast, silky hands, all that. But once again, these confidence errors and all that kind of stuff. I wonder whether, like, I want to know what the environment's like there. Like, what is, like, all the things that happened last year, younger players wanting to leave, people not turning up to the awards night ceremony. Now, apparently that there was a reason for that it was put on weeks and weeks after the year had ended and people were away or whatever. I mean, it's still not a great look. It's just all of these little things that happen. Well, not little things, they're big things. And you go like, what's the environment like there? Is everyone happy? Is everyone energetic? Does people want to be there? I don't know.
But mate, even with that awards night, if the reason was that it was put on too late, what the fuck are the Dragons doing? Like they just find a way of creating headlines for themselves, as if that was ever going to go down well. That they put it so late that players couldn't show up.
It's just strange. I just cannot for the life of me, like, I just want to know what's going on. Like, I want to know what the vibe is. I want to know, like, what's the chat like internally? Because unfortunately, like, most of their players are just not playing to their ability outside of maybe Ben Hunt.
Well, I was saying to Matty before, like, you have a think about what the Dragons did well last year. Ben Hunt, obviously. I would say the next best thing they did was probably Moses Sully. They've moved him to the other side of the field.
I don't understand that. The Lomax and Sully swapping. Now, can you please check for me? I'm pretty sure Hook has said it's for defensive reasons. But it's like, so you lose your best attacking outside back and you move your other Sully, who was incredible last year. Like, I wasn't watching games going, oh, this Sully edge is really poor. It needs Lomax over there. And is Lomax like such a good defender that it's going to change much? Like, he's a good defensive centre. There's no denying that for sure. It makes no sense to me. Like, it makes no sense at all.
Yeah, I can't figure out what the logic is with it at all. I don't.
Because like you watch, like, there were moments where Lomax would get the ball, he'd do an in and away, but he would carry the ball on his inside hand because he's a right hand carry. And so he's not just like a meter. Like, the thing with Sully is like, yeah, he definitely has the explosiveness to be, a game breaker for sure. But he is also a meter eater. Like, that's the kind of player he is. So you can afford to have him on whatever side. It's surprising.
And you know what? Moses Sully, he's a right-hand carry. So, I mean, it doesn't not make sense for him to be over there. But you've got Zach Lomax, who's got this incredible offload, and he could be so dangerous. Why not coach him to be the best fucking centre in the comp using his skill set?
Well, but what I'm not understanding is if it's moved for defence, are you saying Sully wasn't defending well? I thought he was. I don't understand.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
There's a lot of articles saying that, but the quotes from Vic Griffin are quite vague. The ones I can see anyway. Maybe he said it on the telecast and doesn't show up on Google, but yeah, it's a little vague.
What does he say?
He just says, pretty much going off the St. Helens game, he's like, oh, we just wanted to see what it was like, pretty much. Like, he didn't really give.
But then he kept being there the next week anyway.
Yeah.
And also, like, are they really in a position to be testing?
No.
Like, they need.
You've actually found something that works in this team and you want to change that? Like, if I got you to write down a list of 10 things the Dragons should probably be working on, is it the centres?
No, not at all, I don't think. I'm not sure. You know, there's always, what I will say is there's always a reason for things.
There's a method to his madness.
Yeah, there's always like something that has been seen internally, whether it's video sessions that they're doing or whatever. Usually coaches aren't just making decisions willy-nilly. So there's always reasons, but for me, it's just like I don't really feel like that's on the highest priority list, especially with Lomax specifically is like what makes him dangerous is his ability to defend and flick. Like that's his signature move. Now, look, does he need to like pull it in a little bit? Yeah, for sure. Like he needs to make the right calls every now and then. But I mean, when he's at his best, he's on the cusp of Origin selection. Well, hasn't he been in the squad before?
Yeah, he's been in the squad.
Been in the squad.
He's the guy you like. Ben Hunt's the main guy. There's no doubt about that. But Ben Hunt's not going to be there for the next 10 years. Zach Lomax could be.
He's on he was signed a 5-year deal a couple of years ago, and he's on massive coin.
Yeah, I don't know what to read into this Dragon side, and I think that your Lomaxes and your Tyrell Sloan, they personify for me where the Dragons are at right now.
Because we know how good they are.
Yeah, we know how talented they are. They know they've got all this ability, but they just can't put it together. There's inconsistencies, there's errors. They don't look overly happy. There's just, yeah, I don't know. That try that they conceded to Latrell Mitchell off the scrum. It's Latrell Mitchell. That's fine. Oh, I would have backed us to score that try. They didn't go near him.
It's tough, man.
And you saw after they scored, the body language, they all just sort of stood there. There's no, I don't know. It's like they're, I don't know. Like there's only so much that Ben Hunt can say and do.
It doesn't have energy. Like, and I know, like we've kind of said it quite a bit in the off season, but I just don't feel energy from the club. Like I don't feel like. I don't know, and I think that performance kind of showed it. Like there just wasn't that much energy going. Like it just doesn't seem like they're all on the same page and they're all happily moving forward towards a goal. I'm not sure. And look, that's just guesswork from me, outside looking in. But unfortunately, the problem is as well, don't they have round one bye as well?
Yeah, exactly.
So they sit on this for ages, and like the score's 42-24. But I mean, the Rabbitohs put the cue on the rack. Like, fuck,
mate, the score complements the Dragons heavily, like, in my opinion.
It's, and then you know Sloan. I'm not sure what do we know whether there was something going on in his personal life, maybe? But like being in tears after the game, like. Fuck, the poor bloke, he's under so much pressure, that he's in tears after the game. That's how much pressure he's feeling to play rugby league, that he made a couple of errors and he's in tears at the end of the game. And again, excuse me if he's got other personal things going on, but you never want your young gun to feel that much pressure in a trial that he's in tears after it because he had a couple of errors. You want him to be like, it's funny because we talked about when a player makes an error, you want to be like, the boys to be angry at him. But you also want him to be comfortable enough to know, like, yep, you made the errors, but it's all good, mate. We can sort it. Like, it's the wrong thing to do. It's all good. Whereas when you're breaking down after a game, it feels like the poor kid's under too much pressure. Like, he doesn't seem happy. It's just too much pressure. Yeah.
And I mean, like, you have a look at that game on the weekend, like, Bud Sullivan. It was reported he was going to be the first choice 5'8". He's obviously coming back from injury, so he came off the bench. Moses Mbai played a large portion of that game at 5'8". You would have to assume that by the time round 2 rolls around, they're also the last game in round 2, Sunday 6:15. You would have to assume that Bud Sullivan is available for selection.
Yeah, for sure.
Jack Bird will be back. Yeah. Like the team they ran out with the other day, they have to change all those combinations all over again anyway. And I hate to say it, but after that performance the other day, and I actually think Moses Mbai's actually played all right in his last 2 games. It wouldn't surprise me if he's named at fullback for round 2. It really wouldn't, knowing Hook.
Surely you just got to stick with Sloan.
Lasted 2 weeks last season.
Surely you got to stick with Sloan here. Like, oh, man. Anyway, so, look, let's just hope with the Dragons trials. They have proven before that they've struggled in trials and they've come out and gone okay in the season. Let's hope that's the case because unfortunately it was it was pretty poor, like pretty poor. It just didn't seem to work for them. Now onto the Rabbitohs. I thought they looked incredible. I thought they looked fantastic.
They were very good. Yeah.
They looked almost like they were it's funny when you compare the two sides, like, and it's a bit unfair because obviously Rabbitohs have the superstars and all that kind of stuff. But one side looks like energetic, happy, loving it, keen as mustard. And the other side seems, a bit tired, a bit down, a bit scared to make mistakes, a bit worried at times. Like there's like a worried about them. Whereas the Rabbitohs seem carefree, happy, engaged, loving it. They were great.
And you can see a club, like it's so evident to see a happy club. Like even Canterbury in their game yesterday, like they got played off the park, but you could see that it's a happy squad. And South Sydney, that looks like it's so much fun to be a part of.
Oh, 100%.
Look like they're just enjoying everything they do. Mate, when Cody Walker scored that second try, went left foot, and essentially went through untouched. He's a freak.
Yeah, absolute freak. His last 5 years attacking wise, if you look at it statistically, it's like one of the best attacking 5 years ever.
And if you go back to his, the year before that, he wasn't in first grade. It's incredible. What he's done is beyond belief, Cody Walker. I was very impressed with him on the weekend. I thought Ilias held his own. You text me about Damien Cook. Very impressive.
I think Damien Cook's in for a big year because I think that he's a competitor and he's got left out of that Australian squad. Appy eventually started in Origin.
Yep.
So he's been demoted in the Origin arena and in the Australian arena. I think he's got a point to prove it and to say hey, my fight is not over. I'm not just conceding the fact that, okay, here's the new breed and I'm Dunskies. I actually think we're in for a big year from Cookie. I
think the other thing with him, obviously he got left out of the Australian squad, which, to be honest, I would have left him out of the Australian squad too, but no one spoke about it.
Wasn't a big deal.
Wasn't a big deal at all. And if I was Cookie, and I knowing what Cookie's like, that would have and should have pissed him off because that was his jersey.
Well, even Cookie so he's been an 80-minute hooker for New South Wales for years now, and he gets put to the bench and a little bit of talk about it, but not too much.
And I mean, everyone is praising Reece Robson till the cows come home. People are talking about him as an Origin. We've spoken about it. Cookie, as it stands right now, if he's not in the Origin team this year, I'm not going to fall off my chair.
Which is unfair because he's been there so many years and killed it at Origin level. And so, as I said when I messaged you, I really think he's in for a big year. He looks energised. And I actually don't think he's been that bad the last few years. A little bit quiet last year. Probably, I thought he was solid. I definitely don't think he's played. Put it this way, I haven't seen Damien Cook play a bad year of rugby league in quite a while. I would probably say last year was a little bit quiet, but I wouldn't call it bad at all.
You know what I loved about his game on the weekend? He had 3 line break assists. He had 2 try assists. He only ran for 38 metres.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's just that running hooker and that's it, which he was for a while.
He's become creator.
He's crafty.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which, to be honest with you, that was that was why I was so high on Appy last year compared to Cook because of how crafty Appy was. But you're starting to see it in Cook's game. I walked in here this morning and Matty said to me, "How good is it that we're in the midst of the Cam Murray era?" And I thought, "Oh fuck, here we go." But he's right.
Oh yeah,
it's scary what Cam Murray's doing.
Oh, he's good, so good to watch. Just so well-rounded footy player.
He's the most well-rounded forward in the competition, I think.
Yeah, you're probably right. Can ball play, quick, strong, quick play the ball, good footwork.
It's the quick play the ball that kills teams.
Oh, it annihilates teams. Yeah. Teams. Good, incredibly good in defence. Yeah, it's not a bad shout. So look, Rabbitohs, I thought they looked really good. I also think Tom Burgess is in for a huge year for a mixture of things. It's his last year on contract, and he's still a premier front rower. And so, I think that I actually thought he was really good at the World Cup as well.
Yep.
Last year, did he struggle with injury last year a little bit?
A lot.
Yeah, he got suspended, and then during that suspension, he got injured, and then there was no report. It was just minor injuries, and he was in and out.
Yeah,
back end of the year. Yeah.
So I reckon he's in for a massive year. It's going to be interesting to see what happens around contract time though, because he hasn't been re-signed yet. So clearly, either the club hasn't offered or they've offered too low.
And you can tell they've got a number of guys. They've got Shaq Mitchell, We've got Davey Moali. These guys, they've been easing in. I think Harmsele's ready to absolutely explode once he's back from injury. So it will be an interesting year for Tom. I think last year, because of Tom's injuries, I think at the start of the year, I would have said he's sort of like the alpha front rower. Totola probably took that mantle from me at periods during last year. So
yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens this year because obviously he's not. Well, let's hope he's not injured as much. But Totola's just definitely matured into like the guy, or at least it's like he's like. I feel like he's almost a year behind Tarpanet in regards to like the passing of the mantle.
Yeah.
Like Papali'i passed it to Tarpanet. I don't think it's fully passed yet because I think Tom Burgess probably still has another year or two left in him as the main guy. But there were definitely periods last year where he was the main guy, Junior Totola.
It's great to see Davey Moali too. Played 40 minutes, 119 metres. He was obviously scored a try, but it was all the other stuff that really stood out from all of his metres through the middle. I thought he was very impressive.
What did you think of the game, Matty?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for because Sele and Havili are both out. I was looking at Shaq Mitchell and Miley probably the most to see. Because I was actually surprised that I thought Miley would be next up, but Shaq was named at 17. Not that it really mattered because the whole extended bench played, but them two were great. Both of them they had pretty similar stats. They were both really good. I'm a big fan of David Miley. I really like how they've eased him into it. But yeah, as I said to Guru on the way in, just Cam Murray. He's just we're entering his. I saw someone write this on Twitter. I couldn't agree with it more. Like we're entering just the peak Cam Murray years, and he's just unbelievable. And I thought back to your thing with Cook, kind of with Cody as well, as a South fan or just as a rugby league fan, I guess. Like because they're pretty they're getting old. They're like 32, 33. You kind of wait for all right. When are they going to slow down? Like particularly Cook playing in the middle so much. And you're kind of like waiting for that. And even around contract time last year, I was like, oh, if one of them is going to go, is it going to be Cook? Blah, blah, blah. But both of them were in the top 2 or 3 players on the weekend for South. So I was thoroughly impressed as a South fan, especially with like the big dogs.
Tom Burgess, he ran for 152 metres. The most metres of anyone in the team.
Isn't it wild just off what Matty just said? And I'm sure you'll be able to touch on it more, Kempy. But I remember, when you were playing and guys had hit 31 and it was evident. It's like they had 31 written on their forehead. You could just tell from year to year that they'd got older. Some of these guys are getting better at 32, 33.
No, it's wild, eh? It's, almost like 30 is a death sentence nearly back in the day. Nowadays, they're almost...
That was the comment, wrong side of 30.
Yeah.
It's not the case now.
Yeah,
You've almost got to be the wrong side of 34 to be in trouble now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like the player's peak is gone from 27 to 30 instead of, Anyway, great stuff from Rabbitohs. Really, really good stuff. Exciting times at the Rabbitohs. They continue to just be a good, happy club that are playing for each other. It's going to be interesting to see who takes the role of those senior players over the next few years, but I have faith in the Rabbitohs that they'll be able to sort that out. Because you've got to remember, this is the next batch that was after Greg Inglis, Sam Burgess. A lot of clubs fucking fall off the wagon when stuff like that. When you lose a guy like Sam Burgess, Greg Inglis, Dan Gagai to an extent, clubs completely derail, losing literal legends. A lot of people think Sam Burgess is the best back row or 13 ever, or forward or ever. And a lot of people think Greg Inglis is the best outside back
especially because both of them didn't plan to retire. They both got injured and just had to bounce.
Yeah.
So
it's credit to the club that they've managed to stay top tier through this whole time.
And the guys that have stepped into those roles aren't the guys that were under. GI and Cody Walker, they found out of nowhere. Damien Cook, they got from reserve grade at Canterbury. Latrell Mitchell, they obviously got from the Roosters, but they've brought them in and then you've brought together these young guys that came through the junior grades like your Campbell Grahams and these sort of guys that are Cam Murrays that have just gone to a new level. They're a fantastic club at the moment, mate.
Yep, absolutely. Now, before we get to the next one, head into Fleet Street Camp Hill. Say hi to Matt and grab a case of Mini for a chance to win a Bloke Party shirt. Plus, a shout out to our stockists. This is in New South Wales, so New South Wales listeners, listen. YE celebrations. Head in there, grab a case of Bloke and a bar, currently on special. Then there's Celebrations Glenorrhy. Owner Alan is currently stocking both the lager and the midi, and he always has a competitive price. IGA Liquor Tregear, so that's T-R-E Tregear, Tregear maybe. So head into IGA Liquor Tregear. It's spelled Tregear. You boys know how to say that?
No, sorry.
Tregear. IGA Liquor Tregear. Competitive prices. Bloke Lager 6-pack $16.99 and midi $15.99. IGA Liquor Tregear. Liquor Emporium St. Peter, Willa drive-through super sellers. Porter's Maroubra. Head into Porter's Maroubra, guys. They have been a supporters from day dot. Support them. Porter's Maroubra. Tea Gardens Hotel, Bondi Junction, and the Coogee Bay Hotel. I didn't know I was stocked there.
My dreams come true.
Mate, have to go in. That's crazy. I didn't literally know that. How good.
Tea Gardens Hotel and Bondi Junction's a good one too.
Really? Not a bad place?
Okay, yeah.
Coogee Bay Hotel, eh? I'll be down there on the weekend. Say hello. Anyway, let's get into the next game. Okay. Broncos, Cowboys. Broncos defeat Cowboys 20-18. Paddy Carrigan was absolutely incredible, as always. He's another guy almost in that Cam Murray mould where you're just going, wow, like this guy truly just keeps getting better and better. Obviously, Cam Murray's further on in his career. Another good showing for the Broncos, especially considering Adam Reynolds didn't play because, you know, the difference like last year was without Adam Reynolds, we really, you know, before Adam Reynolds arrived, we were terrible. We struggled. And now we're managing to play some good footy when he's not on the field. I will say it is a little bit of a concern that he's, you know, injured at the moment. It's going to be tough if he's in and out of the team throughout the whole year. But even still, even if, let's say, Reynolds struggles with injury for the next year or whatever, he still brings so much off the field. It's been worth it because we were a wooden spoon side. Now we could potentially be, you know, a top 8 side. What do you think about this match, Guru?
Firstly, just on Adam Reynolds, and Matty, you can probably talk about it more, but I just think this has always just been part of who Adam Reynolds is. There's always something going on in the preseason. It was the same with the South Sydney Rabbitohs when he was there, but you have a look across, you know, his last 5 seasons, he hasn't played less than 20 games in any of them. So I think he's always a guy that's sort of carrying stuff, but people call him injury prone.
He's definitely not injury prone.
He's not injury prone.
But it's like bullshit. There's always a little thing.
Something.
Something going on.
There is always something, but he always plays more than 21st grade games a year, which for a guy his stature and whatnot, pretty impressive. But Brisbane, mate, I thought they were good. Once again, considering Adam Reynolds, it's crazy that Adam Reynolds not being there and Brisbane playing well doesn't impress me that much because you did it so much last year and showed what you're capable of doing. It's sort of...
shows you how much he brings off the field.
100% it does.
Because there's no way we're doing that before he gets here.
No way. No. Whereas, you know, it doesn't really surprise me anymore. It's crazy that sometimes the ultimate compliment to a guy can be when he's not there. I thought Brisbane were good. You know, Reece Walsh didn't play in this one too. I thought the week before, the vast majority of your points came off what Reece Walsh was doing. So I think a lot of positives to take out of this for the Brisbane Broncos. And that was the Cowboys. That wasn't their Reggies. That wasn't, 50-50. That was the Cowboys' first grade side who did a number of very good things as well. And I don't think there's too much to take away if you're a Cowboys fan that you lost this one. But I think for Brisbane, there's a lot of positives to take away, considering the guys you're missing, considering you probably haven't worked out who your best hooker is yet. I think fantastic for the Broncos.
Yeah. I will say Moser came on towards the end. And aside from one early grubber when the game, we just needed to build pressure, I'm impressed, man. I'm impressed. I think he's going to be something pretty, I'd be very surprised if we're not sitting in 5 to 6 years' time and he hasn't been the hooker for the last 5 or so years. I really like the tiny touches he had. Do I think he's going to start the year? No, I don't think he'll start the year. But I do think definitely next year. Definitely next year I think he's going to be ready for first grade. He was quite silky. I loved his aggression in defence. He's actually quite a big body. I thought he was small.
He's rangy, isn't he?
He's like at least 6 foot.
Yeah.
At least 6 foot, which is quite big for a hooker. So really, really impressive. Again, I don't think we're anywhere closer to knowing who's the best night at the club right now, though.
But I think he's, without a doubt, got the best upside.
Oh, yeah, for
He's
sure.
just got a swagger about him too.
Well, he's an actual 9.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a very good point.
Like Walters and Corey, like Pakes, like these are 6s and 7s that have been moved into it. And they did a good job. Like Corey came on and, showed a lot of explosiveness. He got out of the dummy half and he changed the momentum of the game. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do there.
So is Moser in the top 30?
So, yeah, I think so. And people might be like, why would Moser be in it and, say a more experienced guy not? Pretty much every single year out of school, there's at least one guy that's like the biggest signing out of school and they go straight into the top 30. Whereas like most kids out of school go into development or, whatever it is called. And I think Blake Moser is that guy for the Broncos. So like when I was coming through, I'm pretty sure Darius was the guy. So he stayed back a year at school and he became the Australian schoolboys fullback. And then he basically went straight out of school into the top squad. So it definitely happens where you go, boom, out of school, straight in top squad. But it's usually reserved for like 1 or 2 guns, like the massive raps on them. And I think Moser is that guy.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he becomes relevant very quickly.
Agreed.
Mate, we weren't having... the conversations were different, but we both probably thought that Ezra Mann was a year or so away last year.
Yeah, it's true.
He came on very quickly. I think that this hooker has probably a bit more to him, though, than Ezra, would be my guess.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I agree. I thought Ezra was a year or 2 away, and he's handled himself fine. Selwyn Cobbo at fullback, some of the stuff he does is just absolutely incredible. Like, he's almost an enigma. You know what I mean? He just does this crazy stuff where you're going, how? And it's almost, he does it so naturally. It just happens.
And that's the thing. If you asked him how, I'm so confident that he'd go,
yeah,
I don't know.
I just play footy.
I can just do it. I always have been. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I'd love to know what his wingspan is.
Oh, mate. I mean, he still had 3 errors. I think under the high ball he struggled a little bit.
Yep.
So I hope not in 3 years' time we're going, oh well, that's kind of expected. So hopefully, we spoke about last week. He definitely needs to sort that out. You can't be a first grader making that many errors, but just what he manages to do is honestly incredible.
That try that he scored, because he reached out and he made it work. Yeah, okay, it's a try in the corner, but I don't think many players in the competition could have scored
100%.
that. So, just because of their body shape, they just don't have what he has.
Mm. Yeah, agreed. Who else? Jordan Riki, got to be the most. It's all there. It's right there. It's
frustratingly there.
Yeah, it's right there, bro. Can be one of the best back rowers in the comp, but an error here, an error there, and you're just like, bro, please be everything you can be. We know you can be. It's honestly like the recipe for a superstar. It's right there.
Yep.
It's boom. It's in your fingertips. Just got to fix it. The errors, in a couple of, defensive laps or whatever. And again, this is because I have such high hopes for him. Like if this was another back rower that was just in there as a battler, you'd be like, yeah, all right, good, solid. Whereas Jordan, I just like, if he just sorted that out, honestly, superstardom is awaiting him. It's right. It wants him to jump into it. So hopefully he can do that. Paddy Carrigan, though, he was absolutely phenomenal. Got through, a mountain of work, 193 metres, 21 runs, 52 post-contact, 3 tackle breaks, 16 just out-and-out hit-ups, 4 offloads, 3 dummies, 8 passes, 24 receipts, 35 tackles.
I know that we already know it about him, but every time I watch him play, I just think, fuck, this kid is going to be so good in Origin for the next 10 years. And I hate that he's a Queenslander.
It's crazy.
And when you think about the 13s that New South Wales have, where Victor Radley had to go and play for England, essentially, for Queensland just to have this guy who, on his day, he at the moment, he's probably not spoken about with Cam Murray and Isaiah Yeo. I think he should be, though. Mm-hmm. And I think by the end of this year, he will be.
Well, it's actually funny. We're just talking about Jordan Ricky, who was like a superstar in the making. What's ironic, or not ironic, but like telling, is Paddy was in the same boat. He would play good games of footy, but he would make a few errors. This was about 2 years ago.
Yep.
And any Bronco fan will tell you, we loved Paddy. We're like, mate, we love the work he gets through. He's a mongrel. He doesn't stop. He goes all day. If there was one knock, couple of mistakes, couple of penalties he would give away, he's cleaned that up now. And now look at him. He's becoming one of the most loved players in the game, period. And he just keeps getting better and better.
And I also felt when I first sort of watched him over a few years ago that he was offloading for the sake of offloading. Now he picks his moments and he nails it every single time. Like, if you said to me who's the main front rower at the Brisbane Broncos, which is crazy to think after the last few years, but I would go with Pat Carrigan, mate. And that's not taking anything away from Payne. Still a tremendous player, but when I think of that forward pack, he's the guy that I think of now.
At the moment, yeah. And I think Payne is a victim of his own consistency.
Yep.
You know, like we've gotten so used to this big fella getting through crazy amount of work, you know, like a million tackles, 200 metres, rah-rah. But, yeah, as we speak right now, form-wise, I think people are beginning to think of Paddy in the forward pack. But, I mean, Payne has, like, I'm not saying that you're saying this, but let's not forget what this guy has done.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, for sure.
Far out.
And that's what I'm saying about how impressive Paddy is. And that's the beauty of these two, that the Broncos can build off over the next few years. They have got two of the most consistent forwards right there.
And Corey Jensen is just like an unsung hero. Gets through a bunch of work, doesn't get any raps.
Appreciated.
Yeah. We come from Cowboys, hey?
Yeah.
And he was at the Raiders before that? Or straight Cowboys? Probably straight Cowboys.
He's definitely the Cowboys. But like, do you remember he was the one that we came out of that game, that trial against Wynnum last year going, he went okay.
Yeah.
So he was playing in that.
I know. It's crazy, eh? Yeah, so look, good solid win for the Broncos. Now it's just a matter of, you know, we all know they can do that. It's for the whole year kind of thing. Cowboys.
Can I just throw one more in there that impressed me? Jesse Arthurs.
Oh, yes.
Gets better every fucking week. He went up and scored that try, which was great. That tackle he made on Brendan Elliott at the end of the game, that was huge. And I can't fit Jesse Arthurs in my best Broncos team. But if you get injured or suspended, you're going to be very nervous giving him a chance to come in and take your spot.
He is like, when he first came into grade, I was like, solid. I don't know whether, like, is he big enough or is he fast enough? But he's big now.
Yeah.
He's big, he's fast, he's strong. Look, if he can't get a spot at the Broncos, in the Broncos kind of starting 13, I think he struggled a little bit with injury last year at the Warriors.
Yeah, he was sort of in and out. Yeah.
I think that he'd be a great get at another club. I really do.
What does his contract look like, Matty? Can you have a look?
I think this is the last year. I think it's the last year.
He was on loan to the Warriors, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is his last year, 23.
Yeah, I think he'd be a great get for plenty of other clubs.
He could end up at a good club next year if Brisbane can't
and
find
go really well. You know, for example, imagine him in that centre spot for the Roosters.
That's exactly what I was just thinking. He'd be perfect
for.
Yeah.
Now on to the Cowboys. Smoky chat. I think Scotty Drinkwater is a smoky for Dally M this year.
He got pretty close this year. I think he finished fourth. Did he?
Third or fourth, but
I think he was fourth. But he was definitely in the conversation. Keep in mind, he wasn't the fullback at the start of the season.
I know, and I'm just like watching his form in these like this trial especially. I think he might be in for a breakout. Like, he's already kind of broken out to a degree, but a breakout, like almost like a Nico year.
Yeah, and when you look at the Dally M and how it works and how guys get points, Chad Townsend's his halfback.
Yeah,
Chad's a fantastic halfback, but the reality is this Dally M, you need to come up with huge plays and highlights realistically. Tommy Dearden, more so one of those guys, but also I don't think he's going to steal a stack of points off Drinky. Then they've just got this forward pack to just share the load everywhere. So I agree with you, mate. I think Drinky will be right up there, and he could be their first 10 games this year. I'm expecting them to win 8 of them. He could have 16 points in the first 10
off the bat.
weeks.
Yeah,
he came fourth, but he missed the first 4 weeks.
Wow. So let's say he got 6 points in that first 4 weeks, what would it become?
6 points? He would have come... Well, so it was 38 Nico, 33 Teddy, 32 Hunt, and then it was a pretty big gap, 23. So he still would have been fourth.
Okay.
But still,
still a fair effort.
Yeah. But like, if you have a look back, like if he would have got 6 points in the first 4 weeks, which I think is well and truly achievable, 29 points will win you half the Dally M's in the last 15 years.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's a smoky for me. That dropout was so cheeky, so smart. I
think people underappreciate how hard that is.
Yeah, it's a nail.
Like, when you watch it on TV, it looks like he's got eternity to do it, but that would have all happened so quickly.
Yeah, you're watching it in slow-mo. He's pretending to kick long, not long, but into the right-hand side, 10 metres. He just goes, boop.
And he makes it sit after 11 metres.
Oh,
it was perfect.
So good.
I think I spoke about it last year. I think it's evident that Scott Drinkwater practices his short dropouts. And you have a look at the Cowboys, how many they win back, and as a Broncos fan, how fucking frustrating is it when you go through all the effort to get a repeat set, and then he drops it on your front rower's head and Nanai gets the ball back.
Oh, it's so... Or like even the short one, like watching the players just jogging back, not looking at the dropout, you're like, bro, like you can see him setting up for a quick dropout, like watch.
Yep.
Like look where the ball is.
And the beauty of that is that if you win those short dropouts, the defense is spread across 50 metres.
Yeah, they've got to come
like
together.
it creates a fantastic set for you, and you get on the front foot straight away. It's pretty much like getting a 7 tackle set because everyone's dispersed everywhere if you use it properly.
Absolutely. Ruben Cotter, another mate, like massive knock. He's a beast. Jordan McLean, his consistency has continued from last year. I thought Valentine Holmes was really good. Who would have thought Valentine Holmes would end up as a premier centre?
We were saying this the other day, just going at the start of the year, everyone just said the same thing. He's not a centre. I think he is a top 2, top 3. I think he was the best centre of last year. I thought he was incredible. You mentioned Jordan McLean there. He had 12 runs for 147 metres.
Yeah. It's massive effort. Nanai had 8 runs for 120 metres. Fuck. So good. Look, good game. Cowboys, they look good again. Broncos look good. I don't think it's just because they lost as a Cowboys fan, I wouldn't be sitting there worried, anything like that. I thought they looked good.
What about our boy Griffin Neame breaking into the off-field and then into the backfield and then just losing grip of the ball as he was going, poor bastard.
Well, he's like, what's going on? I've never been here before. So exciting times for both clubs. I think they're both looking pretty good going into the season. Now, on to Warriors Storm. This was the interesting one because, there are positives for the Warriors to take out. There definitely are. I thought their defence was much better until probably the last, 20 minutes or whatever it was, especially in the first half. But the error rate in this game, it made it almost unwatchable. You're going, what is going on? If you ever wanted an example of what trials are like, this is it. This is trial match footy where it's just error after error. This is a completion rate, 65% and 76% completion rate. Just low. The amount of times where when you look at the score, you go, oh, it's the same old Warriors. And look, I'd be inclined to believe you of far out. They look so good the week before. They get their better players back and they struggle. But I will say that defensively, especially in the first half, I thought they were outstanding. It was just a matter of them not capitalising on that. If you're playing the Melbourne Storm, you have to capitalise on the places that Melbourne Storm make errors because they don't do it very often. And so, a few, I think, Sean Johnson's first kick, he didn't make it out. And then he kicked it. Then it was a 7 tackle set, I think. And then he kicked it. He may have kicked it out again.
I think he kicked it out in the full again, yeah.
And it's just it's very hard to build pressure when you're opening games like that. And maybe he was quite rusty, SJ, because I guess his kicking did improve as the game went on. But as the main guy, you just can't be making those kind of errors.
It's the NRL, you can't be doing it.
He's experienced too. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I just went through and had a look at the 26 players that started that game. There was only 8 of them that didn't make an error.
Far out.
It was all over the place. And you know what? The Melbourne Storm, to the Warriors' credit, they kept them to 0 in the first half. But I thought the Storm middles looked good, but there was just a knock on every third or fourth tackle.
Like every third or fourth tackle.
And then they'd hand the ball over and it'd just be a waiting game to see who was going to make a mistake first.
Yeah, then Warriors make a mistake. It's just mistake for mistake the whole first half.
Like if you said to Warriors fans, you're going to keep the Melbourne Storm to 0 at halftime, you go, good as gold. But then you see it and you're like, fuck.
Should have been up by bloody 16.
Yeah, should have been up by heaps.
Yeah. So it's hard to say. Like, the Warriors are such a hard team to get a focus on. The positive is, if let's say you go, it's the same old Warriors. Well, at least they're rebuilding. Like, at least they're trying. They're starting again. Maybe this is the early stages of rebuilding.
Yeah, and I mean, if there's any team that should be a little bit clunky, it probably is New Zealand, considering all the new guys they've got coming into this team. Mate, a spot that I found really interesting with the Warriors, Jackson Ford, who's come from the Dragons.
He was outstanding.
I've never understood why the Dragons don't fucking play. It's like they hate playing their juniors. It's ridiculous. But Jackson Ford, Gerringong Kitties ended up over there at the New Zealand Warriors. Left edge, Josh Curran, I don't think he's going to make the 13.
Which is wild. Absolutely wild. One of their best players the last 2 years. But yeah, I agree with you in regards to Jackson Ford. I thought he was probably one of their best. Who else? Like, it's tough. Like, even like, Braden Williami, like, he played really well last week, and then this week he struggles. I thought Nickel Klukstad had some really good moments in like ball security and kick returns and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's hard to. Interesting that they're playing Mitch Barnett at 10. That was really interesting to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like,
I get it, but I just don't think it's his best spot.
Yeah.
I would still play Niokore in the centres personally, and I would play Barnett in the second row.
So you'd play Niokore in the centres over Braden, probably?
I don't know, mate.
Villiamy
is
quite
very raw still.
But he's like young, so at least you're building towards the future then.
Yeah. Mate, I was really impressed with Villiamy last week, but this week it was pretty disappointing. But I just think they need Niokore out there, and I think you've got the middles and the edges to be able to cover him playing in the centres. I think it just locks down one edge at least, which has been their issue for the last 2 years. Dylan Walker, when he came on, I could be wrong, but he played mostly centre. I think he played sort of right centre, which I found interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting. Because like they basically were saying that he was coming on in the middle, but maybe he defends out there.
Maybe it's just a lot of move. I found it strange that he didn't come on through the middle, and I think that especially with Jazz out until I think it's round 4 or 5 or something like that. Like I think Dill's going to be really important to start the season.
Yeah.
I mean, like as I just said, if you move Niokore to the centres, you've also got Josh Curran that's not in the team at the moment, which out of 10 times, I reckon on 5 occasions he'll be your best back rower on the day.
Yeah, it's a good point. So look, mixed bag for the Warriors. So some real grit in defence, but unfortunately just got blown out in the end. So we'll just have to wait and see, I guess, round 1. To the Storm. Shocking first half. Oh, so unstorm-like. It's like literally the opposite of the Melbourne Storm in the first half. And then second half rolls around. They seem to get their their bearings or whatever. I will say probably the biggest thing to come out of the game, in my opinion, was Will Walbrook. He was great last week, but he was outstanding this week. Yeah,
he came over from rugby union. He played for the Falcons last year, and every time I watched him, I was really impressed, and he kept on being named like 18th, 19th man last year, and I just kept thinking, this is the week, this is the week. There was him and Jack Howarth who were always on the extended bench, but they could just never get into the side. Warbrick's got a lot of ability, mate. Very talented. He's a very good athlete, which I think the Melbourne Storm, you have a look through their history, they're able to turn athletes into good footballers.
Yeah.
And I think this guy could be one over the next couple of years.
Dangerous player. Him and Xavier Coates coming out of their own end, like, that's a tough gig for any defence. Nelson Asafa-Solomona was absolutely phenomenal. Aside from a couple errors, he was, especially in the second half, I mean, he's going to command a lot of money, man. I just, what do you pay a guy like that? Like, some people will say, oh, well, he only plays 40 minutes or whatever. But if you could say, look, you've got to pay X amount, but you can literally guarantee that the game's momentum will shift, how much would you be willing to pay for that?
And like he might only play 40, but he can end a game in 20.
Yeah,
like he can end a game in 2 runs with the squad that Melbourne have got because they just get off the back of his momentum and it's over. He's such a talented guy, and I think he's obviously the biggest guy on the field, but he knows where to put himself. He's not just running around crazy, just being the big guy.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like you're right. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, he's just so big." It's like, no, we need to give this bloke credit. There's plenty of other guys, not plenty, but there are other big fellas out there that don't go anywhere near his consistency. It is every single game. It is not some games where you see the big fella go crazy. It is every single game he does it.
Yeah, and I think as well, you saw last year that Craig Bellamy obviously had a plan for him in certain games where he'd go, hey, next 20 minutes, I want you to get at that halfback. And he's able to position himself and put him in the right spots, which sounds easy, but there'd be a lot of front rowers in this comp that if you said to do that, it'd be a train wreck.
Mate, 100%. 100%. Just quickly on Holworth, apparently he had a shoulder injury as in like in the off-season, got surgery, I think.
Yep.
And so basically, that's why he didn't play in this trial, and he played in the Sunshine Coast trial because they're just trying to get minutes into him. So he just wouldn't be ready for round 1 NRL. So that's why.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, it's due to injury, and which is fair. Like if you haven't played first grade yet, you don't want to and you've got a shoulder reconstruction or whatever he got on his shoulder, you don't want to rush him back into.
Yeah, fair.
You want to get minutes into him so he's battled hard and he's ready to go. And you only get the first couple of years of a person's career once.
Yep.
And the Storm seem to always know the right time to bring someone in, usually anyway. So apparently that's
interesting when they do bring him in.
Yeah, for sure. Outside of that, look, it's almost like it's obviously a game of 2 halves. First half, terrible. Second half, much better. But we're talking about the Melbourne Storm here. They sort out those errors, and I think they win by a substantial margin.
I think they do as well. And it was such a frustrating first half because if it wasn't the middles dropping, if it got to full tackle, it'd go through the backs, and they were just hitting backward shoulders every single time. And it was your Munster and your Hughes. It was very strange. But I thought that try that Eli Katoa scored was brilliant. The thing that I liked about it was that it wasn't a set play where the half got to get him in position. It was broken play where Munster floated along the field and he timed his run and his line perfectly. So positive signs there. He's a big heap, isn't he?
It's going to be interesting to see how his year develops because he's just got so much potential. Pezzett came on again. I think he had a try assist again.
Yep, he put in a couple of nice kicks and whatnot.
So there's another one. He had 4 points. So did he score a try?
No, he kicked 2 goals.
Oh, kicked 2 goals.
Yep.
But it's good. He comes on and he's doing stuff. He's not just coming on and you don't notice that he's there. He's for people listening, he's one of their younger halves coming through. But yeah, outside of that, as we've already said, ball control in the first half was any team was going to struggle under those conditions. Second half, they got it together. I will say, Nick Meaney at fullback, I think he's a good, solid option. I was a little bit surprised that Fa'alongo didn't get more time at the back because I actually think that he probably put in a bit of pressure on Nick Meaney to keep that spot.
I think Nick Meaney's a good Band-Aid, but I don't think he's the answer personally.
Yeah, whereas a guy like Fa'alongo...
could be.
He could be the answer until Pappenhausen gets back.
If Meaney was the sort of guy that you were getting no errors out of, like a Chance or something, I can understand it, but you are still getting mistakes out of him. So I would take a punt on the upside. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I mean, Storm are notoriously patient.
Yep.
So I can understand, Meaney, by no stretch has Meaney been bad at all. But there is something really exciting about Fa'alongo.
Yeah, and I just think for Melbourne too, they're not in the staying relevant business. They want to win a comp this year.
Yeah.
And I just think it'd be worthwhile getting some minutes into him.
Storm, basically completion rate. That was the big issue. Now, before we get to the Tigers game, Tigers-Raiders game, guys, don't forget to grab a case of Bloke beer from your local. We've got a store locator on the website. We're in hundreds of stores, so put in your store put in your postcode, and it will show you the nearest stockist. Also, do not forget Bloke podcast live tour. Myself, Guru, Timmy, Maddie will be touring Armidale, Wagga, Cairns, Rockhampton, Matter of fact, I'll even give you the names of the place. So Friday, 3rd of March, we'll be at the Grand Hotel in Armidale. 10th of March, we'll be at Riverina, Wagga Wagga, 6 p.m. 17th of March, 6 p.m., Great Western Hotel, Rockhampton. 24th of March, 6 p.m., Gilligans in Cairns. Now let's get to the Raiders and the Tigers. The Tigers defeat Raiders 36-4. Look, I thought this is a really good example of what we discussed last week, where there is a huge gap between the New South Wales Cup Tigers or reserve grade Tigers and the first grade Tigers. They did this without Api Coruscant, but it was the way they did it. It was the way they played, and especially in defence, they were aggressive. They were relentless. They were ruthless. Like, when was the last time, and it is a trial, but when was the last time we saw a Tigers team be ruthless? It's been quite a while. I thought this was a really good win for the club and exactly what they needed heading into round one.
I think for the first time you were able to see some identity with the West Tigers. They were offloading the footy. They were throwing the ball around, very much so Benji to Tim Sheen sort of type of rugby league. But you're right, Kempy, they backed it up with good defence as well, which is realistically what we wanted to see from the West
4 points in the trial. It's not bad.
Unreal. Like against the top 8 side.
Yeah.
You obviously mentioned no Appy. Still got Bateman. Still got Joe Fungawi. Still got Luke Brooks, the halfback, to come back into the side. So plenty of positives here, mate. I think Tigers fans, whilst I don't want them getting ahead of themselves, I think that there is reason to be excited for this franchise.
Yeah, and you could make the argument that their team wasn't anywhere near as full strength as the Raiders team. To not have Bateman, to not have Appy, to not have Luke Brooks, and to not have Offengower, it's fuck.
I think it's a very fair argument.
And 36-4. So definitely don't get ahead of ourselves, Tigers fans. It's a trial, and these things really don't have much bearing on the season. But I tell you what, yous looked good. And again, it's not necessarily about the win. It's about the way they went about their ruthlessness. I just haven't seen that from a Tigers in a while.
Fucking enjoy it, Tigers fans.
Yeah,
enjoy it for what it is. Your franchise is heading in the right direction. Good players to come back, and you've matched it with one of the better sides in this competition.
I want to clear your throat.
I thought I sounded weird then.
Yeah.
I was checking the mics then. I was like, what's going on?
We could have a star on our hands, Junior Tupou.
Yeah.
Far out. Big, strong, fast. 3 tries, 139 metres from 11 runs. He is bloody, 3 line breaks. He's impressive. He's super impressive. And, that's what we were talking about, last year is like, who's their youth coming through that really goes, oh, shit, makes you sit back and go, wow. Even last week, I feel like there was a couple guys that did, but I wasn't super impressed. Whereas this week, Junior Tupou was absolutely fantastic, really good. Interesting the way they decided David Clement to play. I wonder whether that's going to stay, where he's ball playing quite a bit. Almost back to his Bulldogs days, where they used to ball play to the edges quite a bit from their front rowers. Just a really good win.
I'm glad that they gave Tommy Talau another opportunity. I thought he was pretty disappointing last week, but as we said, blowing out cobwebs, I thought he came back in this game and he was really good, I thought.
Yeah, definitely cobwebs last week. A few of the defensive reads, those are things that you need a game or two to get that out of your system. The rush of blood, the jamming in when you shouldn't jam in. These things happen when you haven't played footy in quite a while. You just don't get that patience yet. Whereas he seemed a lot more comfortable and a lot more patient this week.
I thought Brent Naden, he had 3 touches of the football, but some of the things he did was very nice.
He's so skillful, man. I said this the other week, and he probably could get through more work for sure, which is weird because usually he's known for a bloke that gets through a bunch of work. But the flick pass that he's done again, 2nd week in a row, it's not easy to do that. Not every centre can do that. Already spoken about Adam Dewey. It's going to be really interesting. Really interesting to see whether they can convert this into NRL footy come round 1. But what else is there to say? They got the win against a team that on paper was much stronger. I thought Alex Toll came on and was fantastic. Got through a mountain of work as he does. he's so important to that squad. And I'm so glad, I hope anyway, that they do have some success. So guys like him can finally be rewarded for absolutely smashing their body to smithereens to win games of footy or to try to win games of footy. Would you start with Junior Tupou on the week?
Well, I was just about to say, it looks like Kenny Mamalo, he's in doubt for round 1. He's got a knee injury. So he might be a shot there.
Oh, I think I would start him.
The other one there is obviously Charlie Staines that hasn't got a spot yet.
I would start Junior Tupou.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would start him. I would put Ken Mamalo, if he is fit, I'd put him in New South Wales Cup to get some reps under his belt.
Okay.
Either him or, just depends like who's playing well. Nofalun was okay on the weekend. But yeah, I just think Junior Tupou played so well in a side that, nothing should be guaranteed in this side. Like this is a side that
and
struggled.
These are the conversations you want to be having.
Yeah.
No one's safe.
And you want to reward good form.
Yeah.
I don't think this is the time to be loyal to anyone, if I'm being honest. Like this is where they come 15th last year?
Yeah, 16th
yeah.
last.
They won the spoon.
Yep. No, 100%.
Like this is not the time to be like, oh no, you're a veteran, you get first dibs. This is the time to go, no, whoever is ripping and tearing and playing the best, we put in those positions.
I thought a guy that wasn't great last week that I thought he was pretty good this weekend, Wakeham, the halfback. I know he won't be there round 1 and he'll probably, he probably is next man up in the halves, but
it was much better.
Heaps better this week.
Last week. But, and again, I think we said it as well last week. It's like, the bloke literally rocked up 10 days before. So
yeah,
another week of training and all of a sudden, he looked great. He looked great. Good pickup for depth for sure. And who knows, like, you could put pressure on Brooks, and you never know with rugby league. It's a long season. Anyone else that stood out for you?
No, mate. I think that was it from the West Tigers, but just a good all round performance. Congratulations to him. I reckon, as you said with Clemmer, him playing that role early. I still think as the season goes on, this Justin Matamula is going to play a really big role.
Okay.
As a middle guy.
Okay. Yeah. Outside of that, like, what else is there to say? It was a great team effort, and that's another thing that I really liked is like, we didn't look in. It wasn't Isaiah Papali'i running 250 meters and busting teams open. It was a team effort.
Do you think Appy will play 80, or do you think they'll run with a Simkin on the bench?
I think they'll. You know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I always have a hooker on the bench.
Even though it's Appy, you still want to have
sure.
Okay.
For sure. Because like Simpkin, he's decent. He's a genuine 9. He's a genuine 9. It'd be a little bit different if you had like a non-genuine 9 on the bench and the 14 was more of a utility forward.
Yeah.
That's when I'd go, look, if Appy can squeeze out the 80, we'll squeeze it out. But, yeah.
I guess it also helps that they've got so many middles now that you can probably afford to have a 14 too.
Yeah, for sure. Now, on to the Raiders. Wow, really disappointing. I was, and now look, as you said, notoriously, usually it's slow starters, especially last year or so. But I was quite high on the Raiders coming into this year. Now, it's just trials. But the trial matches that I've seen from them, they definitely haven't been at the level that I think that this squad should be at. Like this squad, to me, on paper, it's one of the better squads in the comp.
Yeah. Who are they missing? Xavier Savage, is that it?
I think so.
That's probably Emre Gula, Tapane, the two edges are there, centres are there. Rapana was named at 1. Yeah, like this is on the bench. They had Horsburgh, Tommy Starling, Hadawi Onada. This is them. So you had the young guys, Mooney, Mariota coming off the bench as well. Solo was there. So this is who the Canberra Raiders are. And that's a pretty disappointing first game for them. Or not first game, but first hit out as a whole squad. That's very disappointing.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Like to get done 36-4 when, look, maybe Ricky took the boys off and that's where the points all came. But it just, even if you were to say that, like, because like the bulk of the points really came in the second half.
Yeah.
So maybe there's an argument to be had where they took their main guys off in that second half, or
they also conceded a lot of points in the time that Jordan Rapana was off the field.
Yeah. But still, 36-4.
Still,
they're better than that.
I'll tell you who looked really good. Matty Timoko. I thought he looked fantastic in this one. 14 runs, 112 metres. He had about 5 tackle breaks. He had a hand in their try that they scored. I thought he looked really strong and impressive.
Yeah, I liked Timoko. But outside of that, it's not really that much to speak about because, like, I wouldn't make changes to their squad. There's no one where I go, this position's under pressure and this one won this role. Like, this was genuinely what most people would consider their best 13 at least, and it just was a bit lackluster this weekend.
I reckon Ricky will park this in the back seat and leave it there. Move on.
Just go, trial match is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's one of those things where, you know what, everyone knows the Raiders are better than that. So trial match didn't work out. Let's focus on round one. Now on to the Doggies Sharkies. This was a really interesting one because I thought the Doggies looked absolutely outstanding, at least the first 20, maybe even the first 40. But the Sharks class just ran away with the game where you know, as you said, you were sitting there going, oh, the Doggies look all right here. Like, they look like a genuine top 8 side even.
Yep.
And then Sharkies just go boom, 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 and you go, oh, shit, it's a shellacking. In saying that, I would not be disappointed if I was Doggies fans. Like, yeah, okay, the score isn't flattering, but I think it's two things. A, yous looked way better. B, the Sharks just look fucking fantastic. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I think the Sharks, you just have to give credit where credit's due. They were brilliant. I think for Canterbury fans, like, you looked unbelievable in the first 20 minutes. And the thing that stood out for me was Canterbury looked so good, and Matt Burton hadn't done that much.
He didn't really do that much all game, to be honest.
He hardly did anything, and that's not an insult to Matt Burton. It's more of a compliment to the Canterbury side that I don't think they're so reliant on him anymore. I thought Reid Marnie, he looked dynamic. He was looking really good. And Mulatalo, he scored just before half-time, which was an aerial contest that, you know, was a perfect kick, and he's just a freak in the air. Like, it was 12-6 at that point.
Yeah.
The game was well and truly there to be, you know, it's still in the balance. I love Mulatalo, man. I love that he's got this shit in his game, but he always backs it up.
Yep.
He always backs it up, and you can talk more, but I've met him that one day at your photo shoot, and I couldn't believe how polite and nice he was.
Yeah, no, it's a different
compared
person.
to what you see on the
It's
field.
literally a different person.
Yeah. And I love that, you know, he went after Avarillo. He kept going at him, and then, of course, just before halftime, he leaps over him to score that try.
Yeah.
And that's who Mulatalo is.
And like, the thing is it's exactly as you said. He doesn't just talk and talk and talk. Like, he backs it up.
And he's not going to Shark Park with 10,000 Sharks fans. He's going to fucking Belmore Oval and giving it to the Canterbury Bulldogs, which is great. That's what you want.
And the Dogs fans are giving it to him,
100%.
booing him, and all that kind of
invites
stuff.
it. He loves it.
And I think it's great for the game. I think it's so entertaining to watch.
What about when him and Avarillo are in the in goals and he like shoved him in the face and all the guys came in? Did you see the security guard that stood up and did the slowest walk over to the 34 players?
Yeah,
he must have just been going, God, no, I don't get paid enough for this.
No way. So, yeah, I mean, speak about Doggies first. I think, like, Kickout going off in the first 10, obviously, like, they still hung on and it was a close game, but I think that would have changed quite a lot in regards to the momentum of things. Alamotti had some great moments. I actually thought Ramian did a real good job on him, though. Like, I thought Ramian showed, like, yeah, you're a good young talent for sure. There's no denying that, but I'm an experienced campaigner now. And also, Jesse Ramian's got to be one of the most underrated centres in the game. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah.
He was outstanding last year. And the only reason he didn't get all the raps he probably deserved is because Talakai came out of nowhere and had that crazy moment, crazy few games. But back to the Dogs. I will say, like Burton was probably a little bit quiet for my liking in a trial. Like, but it's hard to knock him for it. It's like, mate, he had such a big year last year. Yeah. Huge Origin series. I thought he was great when he played for Australia. I do think that it may take a little bit of time for Burton to kind of warm into this season because it's been such a huge couple of years for him.
Yep.
Like, I don't think it gets appreciated enough. Like, this guy came out of not nowhere because they had big raps on him, but he went from basically, you know, first of all, he went from this next young gun half to we don't want you in the halves, you're allowed to sign somewhere else, to Dally M Centre of the Year, wins a premiership, goes to the Dogs, comes through a period where they barely won a game the first 12 weeks. He's their only shining light. All that pressure on him. They turn it around, goes into Origin, has this huge Origin moment. Like, I think it's going to take a little bit of time.
Into a World Cup.
Yeah, away in England for over a month.
And then he arrives back, and it's the first time Canterbury's had hope in years.
Yeah, it's been a big couple of years for him. So I think fans, be patient with Birdo this year. I thought their forward pack looks the best it's looked in quite a while. I do think that we got another quality game from the big fella. Oh my God, I can't. Pele, yep, got another good game from Pele. I thought Manu Brown was really good when he came on. I thought Skelton was always so good.
Yeah.
But I will say, I am a little bit still in the air about fullback. I'm not sure whether Hayes Perham is ready for first grade at fullback yet. Good footwork, good ball runner. I don't know. I don't know if he's played that well the last couple of games.
Yeah, I agree with you. Just with those forwards too, TPJ, I think it's just been announced he's out till round 4. So Pele could get a real shot there.
Yeah.
Potentially off the bench.
Well, I think he's earned it.
I think so too. Yep. Hayes Perham. I don't know. I'm not quite seeing at the moment. I can see the potential that he has, but I don't think, as it stands right now, I'm not confident he'll be the fullback for the entire season. But ball's in his court. It is only one game in a All-Stars game, but I'm struggling to see it at the moment.
Like, would you move out of Averillo back there and put another
would.
centre in? Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what they do round 1, because they do have Braden Burns.
Yep.
And so he can either play fullback or he can play centre. So I wonder whether they go Braden Burns, Alamotti in the centres.
Have we seen Braden Burns play fullback other than last week? Has that been a thing in the past, Matty, when he was at Souths or anything? Because that one sort of took me by surprise last week. But when you have a look at the rest of their squad, it makes sense because there's no one else there that you can really throw in there. I'd move Averillo there, personally.
He's played a couple games at fullback.
Couple games. Yeah, interesting. Don't be disappointed, Doggies fans. Still plenty to love. Sharkies fans.
Sorry, that was in reserve grade. I was looking at the wrong thing. So he's played in reserve grade a couple games. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sharkies, they were outstanding. I thought Jesse Raymond was fantastic. Katoa continues to be one of the most underrated wingers in the game. Ronaldo was phenomenal. Nico Hines was. Was there anyone that played that poorly? Like Toby Rudolph had an error or two, but outside of that, it was super impressive.
Just a Sharks performance. They're just a fantastic team. They're a great
super aggressive
a great squad. Oh mate,
they represent what the Sharkies have been for so long. Like they're almost like tapping into that golden era of Gal and Lewis and that. They're super aggressive. That didn't look like a trial to them the other day. Like that against the Doggies, there's pushing and shoving going on all the time. It's a trial match. It doesn't usually happen. But they're mongrels. They love it.
They absolutely love it, don't they? Yeah. I thought that their middles made a couple of mistakes early. But outside of that, mate, I thought they were tremendous. I love this Wilton. And I've loved Wade Graham all my life, but I think it's time for Wilton to own that left edge, in my opinion.
I think Wilton will probably start there and Graham will come off the bench. I think Britton Nakora's defence has been absolutely outstanding. Just his aggression in defence, his line running in attack has been outstanding.
Imagine having Cam McInnes and Wade Graham on your bench.
Oh my God.
Cam McInnes' leg speed is unbelievable. It just blows team away.
He just changes the momentum constantly. Yep. Comes on, and just when you think that you've got into a rhythm with the opposition, back and forth, tit for tat, then Cam McInnes comes on and you go, oh shit, now we have to go up a whole nother level.
We're always talking Madison, Scott Sorensen. Cam McInnes is right up there as far as bench players goes.
I think it's because I don't see him as a bench player.
Yeah.
Fair. You know what I mean? He hasn't played there long enough. I see him as a starter.
But his impact there is just unbelievable.
Oh, it's massive.
Yeah.
Braden Hamlin and Ueli had some huge runs. Look, we've already spoken about the Sharks, but super exciting times. Now, last game of the round, the Dolphins versus the Titans. This is a tough one to judge because, look, if the Dolphins play, if let's say that we thought that they played NRL standard, then this is a great win by the Titans. And I will say it's the best the Titans have looked in a long time. I thought Foran was outstanding for them. He's really changed things for them. I thought Tanner Boyd just keeps getting better and better for them. So from the Titans' perspective, it's just hard to tell. Was this just Dolphins struggling, or was this Titans being super dominant Because if they've sorted their defence, and which I don't think Dolphins scored a point for the first, 50 minutes or so? Sorry. Just before half-time, 37th minute, they didn't score a point. Like, that's great from the Titans. That's what we want. We want no points. We want good defence, and I think they showed it to a degree.
As much as there is the argument, obviously we don't know the standard of the Dolphins at this point. I just thought the Titans looked like they had more direction and more structure than I've seen from them in quite some time.
Yeah.
I thought they looked really good. Just some of the touches that Foz has, he's just all class, isn't he?
Yeah, there's levels. There's levels.
It's like, it doesn't matter that he's a little bit slower than other guys. His timing, his awareness is like that pass that he threw to Campiera, who is going to be a fucking star, by the way.
If he can keep playing good footy.
I'm very high on him. I think he'll hold on to that spot. I think you've got Brian Kelly, who returns in round 3 or 4, but I reckon he can hold a wing spot this year, this Campiera. Yeah. The other winger too is a gun, Jojo Fafita.
He's a gun. And apparently he's faster.
They reckon,
I don't believe it.
I'd question it, but to be in that conversation is bloody impressive.
But in saying that, look, if he got clocked at a faster time, then fair enough. Another one I want to point out, Dave Fafita once again running for huge metres.
Yep.
I love to see that because that means he's involved in the game. He's taking not, 1,000 tackle breaks. He's taking tough hit-ups. And like, what did I, say pretty much every week last week? I was like, I just want to get him in the middle of the field and get him as a front rower just to get him to go straight so that he doesn't have to worry about anything else. Whereas I feel like he may have made that decision himself where he's like, you know what, I'm just going to fucking run it straight and hard. Because he had 170 metres, only 3 tackle breaks.
Yeah.
That's a different style of running that he's doing. It's a selfless style of running. It's going, okay, I could go and break 1,000,000 tackles. We all know that. Instead, I'm going to take the hit up, get the quick play of the ball, and the next person's going to take advantage of that. Tino, we all know how great he is. I will say I'm surprised that they're starting Isaac Liu instead of Aaron Clark at 13.
Yeah. I thought Liu did some really nice things last night, to be fair. I would start Aaron Clark every day of the week, but I thought he did some nice things. And once again, credit to the Titans. They've got a side with Jaden Campbell and Aaron Clark and Mo Fodawaker on the bench. Like, it's pretty handy, but I would have assumed Aaron Clark would have been the 13 to start. He might still be, but...
Interesting. Maybe, you know what? Maybe it's a decision defence-wise.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe they've just gone, you know what? Every selection is going to be around defence this year, which is understandable. Titans, well done. Again, it's hard to gauge like where the level is, but they definitely looked a much better side with Foran directing him around the park. And just with guys like Fafita taking hit-ups instead of, tackle breaks and all that kind of stuff.
Tell you the other one that looked good, he's had 2 very good trials, Jermaine Jolliffe.
Yeah.
He's
almost like stolen the starting spot off Moe.
I think he has, yeah.
Now the Dolphins. Tough showing for the Dolphins. Unfortunately, just didn't have the edge defence at periods was like pretty poor.
Yep.
And it's going to be interesting. Like, they've got Ewan Aiken on the bench, and it seemed like he was signed to play centre, but they've got Brenko Lee and Tessie New starting at centre for the trial. Look, it's Brenko Lee and Tessie's first game.
Yeah, Branko definitely didn't play last week. I don't think Tessie did.
No.
Yeah.
And look, these are new combinations, and edge defence is all about combinations, knowing when they'll jam in, when they won't. So it's understandable that this could happen, but you've got to call it like you see it. Unfortunately, it just wasn't the best showing for the Dolphins.
Yeah, and I think Branko, I don't think he's trained that much over the last few weeks. I think he's had an injury, so I think he was a little bit underdone there. But I think personally, you have to play Ewan Aitken there, I think. And then I think I'd probably go for the upside in testing you and give Branko some reps. Reggie's.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about the Dolphins because it's like just wasn't a good knock for them really, and they just looked like a team that hasn't played much together, and that's what they are.
So and that's exactly what they are. That's exactly what they look like. I know I've already got my favourite Dolphin, Ray Stone. Good God, some of the shots he puts on.
I love it.
They scored a try off the back of it, and I think it was Blocker that said in the commentary, put that down to Ray Stone. He put the shot on. The ball went loose about 2 metres behind. There was bloke standing around watching it, and he was the first one to the ball as well. Yeah. You love that.
Oh, fucking oath you do.
This is after he's walking off the sideline last week, talking to himself, covered in fucking blood.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be a fan favourite, and rightly so. Rightly so. Yeah, outside of that, there's not much else to say, really.
The other one that I didn't mind the look of that I just...
Sean O'Sullivan was okay.
He was okay, yeah. Herman SASA, fuck, I hope he can just achieve what he should achieve.
Yeah.
Started the Broncos years ago and looked like a world beater, and he's just bounced from club to club. Hopefully this is a spot that he can find something at.
Yeah. I thought Wallace came on and played solidly again. I thought he was good last week for him as well. You know, he came on and ran for over 100 metres, which is the most metres of any forward in the Dolphins side, which is what you want from him. He's not your ball player. He's not this. He's not that. He's just going to get you your metres.
I thought Isaiah Katoa came on. He did some really nice things.
Yeah,
but
nice
as I've been saying for a number of weeks, 7 tackles, 4 missed tackles. I just think he's not ready yet.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all good and well to do it with the ball, but
I mean he's so young. Like if he was, it would almost be shocking if he was like not missing any tackles. Like for example, it's quite ironic because Cleary came into first grade and like what was, if you had one knock on him was like does he have the flash and the flair in attack? Like that was the knock on him. Whereas like his defense, his debut, he made like 40 tackles against the Storm.
Yeah.
Whereas at Katoa, it's like almost the opposite. He has the flair, he has the attack, but he just needs to work on his defense. So the point I'm trying to make is that even a guy like Nathan Cleary needed to work on things. Every rookie coming in has part of their game that they need to work on. And Katoa really, you know, maybe it's his game management and then it's just his defense and he's ready to go.
And I reckon he'll come out of 7 or 8 weeks in Q Cup.
Yeah. Looking all right. And even further than that, even just another preseason in a first grade squad. Yeah. Like a whole another preseason training with men. Like he's so young. So definitely saw some super, super silky touches from him.
It'll be interesting to see when he does come in because like if they do have an injury to their halves, it's pretty much him, Cody Nikorima.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that SOS and Anthony Milford stay on the field for a while because I just think he needs a few more weeks, months until he's probably ready to come in.
Yep. Anyway, that is us done and dusted, guys, for the week. Thank you for watching. Anything going on for you, Guru?
Yeah, we've got Beers and Breakevens on Wednesday. We're announcing our major prize from Blue Wealth Property, so they'll be coming in here with us to join us for the show. And, the biggest prize pool you'll find in Supercoach, essentially. So, very exciting.
Wow, how good. That's us done and dusted, guys. As usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.